here ready to fire on. Instead of writing gonzo journalism, he's like, send it out into the radio waves.
Dude, Japan really fucked me. I wasn't smoking, and then I went to Japan.
They smoke everywhere.
Bro, they smoke the most out of anyone I've ever met.
Really, all the Japanese just smoke like trucks.
Because all they do.
Are they still inside?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're at a restaurant and you go to a nice restaurant, like a nice restaurant. You're finishing your beer, and you're smoking at the table. And
I mean, it used to be like that,
but they're $3 a packet, or $4 a packet.
Because we tax them to shit.
These are fucking $42
for a pack. Yeah, I know. My brother's a pretty hefty smoker. He tells me all the bills.
42.
It's fucking crazy because we tax them so high.
I haven't gone to pack a day yet, but I'm not going to do it. I'm going to get off because I was going to try and quit vaping as well.
It's a fucking money burner, if nothing else. If you don't worry about your health, it's a money burner. And what do you really get out of it?
Oh, it's good.
Okay, yeah, I don't see it. I never got onto it, so I don't know that.
No, it's not good. It's not good.
The hook,
it's just like sometimes. I guess it's because now I'm so used to smoking. When I don't, one of the withdrawals is I get so irritable.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, because that's hooked into your brain. It's hooked into your brain chemistry now. Unfortunately, be how I think about beers now. If I go a few days without a beer, I go. Oh,
get the shakes.
No, I don't get the shakes. I'm definitely not that. But it seems my beer consumption is definitely on the uptick from what it used to be.
Congratulations on the gold medal.
Thanks, man. Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Well, I'm not much of a competitor, as anyone that knows me. I love to train, but I've always been known as kind of the quiet achiever at the gym without really putting it on the line and going out to compete and find every excuse under the book. So I only competed once at Purple Belt during COVID when everything was shut down and we had the comp at the gym. Had a match and won that at Purple, went to Brown, and then essentially hadn't competed in 2 years, and then just training so much consistently, starting to kind of teach a little bit, or taking that role on board a little bit more. So I was like, and obviously all the students be like, why don't you compete? Like, at some point, almost every one of them. So I was like, all right, better get this out and under the belt and all the other things that come along with it. So signed up to the last M16 Open round robin tournament. And there was only 3 of us in the pro div, which is purple belt and above, purple, brown, black. No black belt signed up. So it was me, Tommy Hayes from Beachside, and Shane Wright. And it went well for me. Got gold. And then I didn't put myself in absolute, and Tommy Hayes won the absolute. And so I won't say that I didn't feel good that I got that win. And I was like, do I get to win by default? But it was like, nah.
And a little birdie told me that you did it with ease.
They weren't the longest matches.
Little birdie told me that Tom did it with great ease.
It went very well for me that day. It went as well as you can dream up in your head before.
And when I say that, I mean ease on game day because he put in all that hard work. It was. And to his competitors, same thing. They would have put in heaps of hard work. It was just his day. Fire.
And I had it all in my head, like, I'm going to make sure I get a good warm up. But then once you start coaching and watching others and kind of seeing, you forget then. It's like, well, you got to stay ready. And I'm like, nah, get a good warm up. And all these ideas you have in your head about how to compete and do it well and properly. But when you're not in it that much, my brother comes running up to me going, they've just had their first match. You warm? I'm like, I only just got changed. I was like, so I thought going into the first match, I was like, I'm going to have to not just do something stupid because I'm cold. Luckily, it was over quick. The first move I hit was my move I like to hit all the time in the gym, and it got it straight in there. So
isn't it nice? What's the feeling like for a lot of us out there that will never compete like that? What's it like when you get it that quick?
When I got it that quickly, I was just so happy because there was no tiredness and it was over already. And the
nerves were gone.
It was gone. It was in, out. As soon as it starts, it's funny. It's like you switch on, and in my head, it's like, just don't do anything stupid. And luckily, he pulled guard. And then as soon as he pulled guard, it was immediately just thinking like, all right, what are you going to do here? And it was like, pass his guard. Don't let him pull you into the ground. And no, and it was with Tommy. I was like, don't let him immediately go into deep half guard, sink underneath, and all these other fun things. But it's happening. And so, luckily the counter to half guard is what the guys were talking about is a Darce choke, and that's what I ended up catching him with.
All over
40 something seconds. second quickest match of the day, and yeah, felt great about that. And then
you on a little bit of a high.
I was. It was. But then I knew I was like, that was a good quick one. All right, so just don't get it. Just it's going to happen again. You're going to step on that mat and see how it goes. And yeah, a little longer for the second one. A little more to get into it. A little hesitant to shoot and start wrestling and potentially get my neck caught, which is what I'm always worried about by shooting. And I prefer scrambles to get my takedowns than just straight up shooting. You find out you get. You don't want to get tangled up with the legs with your head too low. People grab you and get you.
Sorry, I was just fixing my headphones because they were so loud.
Oh, well, I'm glad that I'm heavy in your ears, mate.
Yeah, you are.
Listening. But yeah, and then the second one though, then I heel hooked him. And
you heel hooked him?
I got a crack, and yeah, because he went for my foot.
Wait, but let's just touch on that before you go any further. Right. What's the feeling like?
It was not good. It was not good for me
because you're a mean, like you're not mean. You're not a mean person.
No.
What's it like when you got that?
I had to talk myself in my head. I had a conversation in my head because in training, you never go that far.
Yeah.
And as I'm doing it, I'm realizing. Oh shit! You can't lose the position. All right, sink your hips in. All right, now change your angle. And
are we doing this? Are we doing this?
I did, and I didn't feel him ripping on my foot. And everyone was like, "How is your foot?" I was like, "I wasn't feeling the foot." I'm having a combo in my head going, "Oh, I'm gonna have to pressure in now. Oh, you've changed the grip. Oh, now squeeze." And as I squeezed and twist, it crack. And you see me after there's a video of it, and I just go, "Oh."
Yeah.
And I let go, and people around, you hear a clip, they heard the knee go crack.
No shit.
And so then I was like, and you feel bad, and then you realize it's over, raise his hand, he goes off to the dock, and then I'm going, then it hits me, I'm like, just got the double win, and I'm like, poor him, but yeah, actually got there, and you actually finished a heel hook finally as well. That's what it felt like. Didn't feel good.
Because there's some fucking people out there that do not give a fuck.
It's so rude.
They will fucking take your knee,
rip your leg off, even if you tap first.
And you have 0.4 seconds to decide if you're going to tap or not.
It's so quick. Yeah, that's what was different. It was like, because he wrenched on the foot, and I didn't have the best position, but I had like outside 50-50, and I had the heel and he had the foot without any leg involved. And so there's a picture of it in the moment just before the crack that some of the photographers around there were just on point that day.
You have to be just, I guess, like in any combat sport, you have your outliers where they're willing to hurt you. Like well, I guess it depends. Like they're like you said, you had to have a full-on conversation with yourself.
Yeah,
a lot of people aren't having that conversation at the highest level because there's such high stakes, I guess.
Well, that's what was different, and that's what actual top jiu-jitsu level people say. There's a different at the local level, which is where this was. This was, at my level as well, brown belt and purple belt and above. It's coaches usually from the surrounding areas who are training still pretty hard to want to compete.
Yeah.
So there's still something on, but it's local things, and it's like, how much do you want to compromise your legs by playing the heel hook game in a comp level?
Because then you're out of work for 6 months.
Oh my God, I was thinking my work, the things go right, and I think that's what my missus thinks about when I go and do it. And
it's like fuck. It's not like I'm gonna have a year off on rehab and then I'm going to go back into a massive fight and get paid fucking $1 million. Yeah.
It's like, it's not in jiu-jitsu to begin with.
I have to go fucking
back to
build
work,
some
mate.
shit on Monday.
Got to go put a room on, mate, lay some stuff down. Yeah. So no, it went well for me. That is always the dangers of competing and that's why I do take it seriously, and why you do want to put in all that work, that you feel comfortable and confident in yourself on the day, that even not your best self, at least you did enough work by showing up to the gym. And I took that mindset in, definitely, because I was putting in all the work, which unfortunately it went well. And then I've had some injuries that are bloody keeping me off the training mats. I'm only trying to get in to help teach on Mondays, and had a few weeks off now because bloody hurt me back. So, but yeah, apart from that, mate, that's been since the comp. Comp was a few months ago.
It makes you think, like, what would the feeling be like for the people that are at the highest level of the sport when they win? Of any sport.
That's why MMA is so intense.
Yeah, but especially MMA.
Then you're beating the shit out of each other.
Especially
so it's not
MMA.
Just you catch them in a submission, and injury is an option that's there. Compared to the point of a fight is to cause damage, and then you hope you can do it in the most brutal way possible So you get the oh shit moment, and then people want to tune in and watch even more.
Perfect example. Justin Gaethje on the weekend.
The BMF title.
Justin Gaethje on the weekend, bro. I honestly, I had a really fucking good day, like picking the fights.
I feel a lot of people were going with Poirier.
The only person that fucked my multi was because, and I'm gonna sound like the most casual MMA fan right now.
Oh, yes. Give us the casual
The only thing that really fucked my multi was, for some reason, I was like, Tony Ferguson's got one more in it.
Oh, you went the roughy with...
Bro, he was paying $5.
Yeah.
He was paying $5.
I felt bad for him with those odds.
He was paying $5. I had just had a real casual moment, and I was like...
The heart.
I'm gonna definitely have to put money on Tony Ferguson.
Not the best gamble.
So that nailed my multi heaps.
But he was hitting him with some strong shots. He hurt him in the first round, right?
Oh, he's not good anymore, Tom.
Tom,
Here's what was
hard. Here's what was hard with Ferguson, right? Everything that he was so tricky and slick with, he's
too old.
He's a step behind.
Yeah, he's too slow.
And so he was getting hit with everything where he used to slip and trick. Yeah. He used to slide off. Now he's running into shit.
Yeah.
And it's just like, oh, you're that half a second too slow.
Yeah.
And it's just, well, of course, he went on a 12-fight win
streak.
And
also, I feel like because he's slowed down, and I'm not shitting on Tony Ferguson at all. I just said, if I see in the next fight, if I see Tony Ferguson paying $7, I'm putting fucking $200 on him.
Yeah, big fan.
Because
big fan.
I love him.
Oh, you love him.
But exactly like you said, and now because he's slowed down, his angles and his awkward movement doesn't work.
No, that's
because he just gets stuck. Like, he'll go to do something, they will return, and he'll get stuck in the mud. Like, he'll just get stuck in the mud.
That's what it was.
He would. Yeah, you know what I mean. You know exactly what I mean.
He used to be so confident with stepping in and committing that then he commits and he gets hit and he gets triggered maybe by their feint.
Yeah,
and then he doesn't throw, and it used to work for him because he never used to be faint on the trigger, and now he kind of enters the range and doesn't commit, and then he gets hit, and then he's getting hit bad, and then he's not getting out well enough, and then it's just snowball effect down, and then he ends up getting choked by a man who hadn't had a choke in 10 years by the head and arm.
And it had to be fucking Bobby Green out of all these people. I hate Bobby Green.
Do you?
I hate him. I can't stand the cunt.
He's such a character.
Oh yeah, he's a dickhead. He's a dickhead, man.
Is he in the Kevin Lee category?
Bro, don't even fucking get me started on Kevin Lee.
He was the one and done. He got thrown to the wolves, and that was.
Insane.
He retired. Yeah.
He wouldn't. Did he?
Yeah, he retired.
He did.
He said after that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fair.
He said after that he came back and kind of one last run and got caught at the first.
When Kevin Lee first started,
he's a beast, mate.
He was
that knockout of Gregor Gillespie was
his attitude though. He wasn't a dickhead. He just
it was as he built.
He just flipped into like this person who was really entitled.
We saw it was around the Conor blow up, right? And then he was
but he did it wrong.
Well, he may have done it wrong. He's thinking Conor took his style.
Did you see him? Oh fucking bro! Oh my god!
What do you mean?
And do you know what? He didn't do that well against Diego Sanchez.
No, he was struggling against Diego. Nah. But we can then roll it up. So there was the BMF title. That was amazing.
That whole card, bro.
What was the Pereira versus Yan? That was a bit of a tactical
Pereira,
battle.
I put money on him because I was like, I don't see how Yan can beat him.
I thought he'd get chewing up by leg kicks, but it was like who was going to take the leg kicks better?
What fucked Izzy up mostly, in my opinion, was the fact I'm sure he's a lot stronger than. Obviously, he's very powerful, but I think Pereira has a lot more brute strength, so it was harder to keep him down and manhandle him. And I think, I don't know, Pereira's gas tank looked excellent, and they were at high as fuck altitude.
They were at high altitude. Obviously, the weight cut, not having to do the extra 20 pounds.
He looked
to get
excellent.
Down there. They said they showed pictures. He just wasn't nearly like super shredded, but he was still thick.
But the people who said that. There's a lot of people that are outraged with that decision.
Yeah, you can't be outraged. It was all because Jan said, it was a robbery. It was like, absolutely not.
No, it wasn't.
Definitely
not at all.
Nah, definitely was not.
Even in the first round, when he took him down, he didn't do any damage. And then Pereira got up. How do you score that round?
I think I gave the first one to
4
Pereira.
minutes, 4 minutes control time, I think it was.
Because it was against a cage
But
for a lot and then took him down.
Pereira got up and beat the fuck out of him.
Beat him up for a little
So
bit.
how do you score that?
It's supposed to cause damage to be the most significant
But
thing.
judges won't score it like that.
Not if you get 4 minutes of
No, not at all.
control time. But then I thought Pereira won over the 3.
No.
But then the first fight, what about Chiesa getting Dars choked by Kevin Holland?
I put Kevin Holland as well because Kevin Holland was paying heaps, and I put him first round stoppage.
Did you?
See, my multi got fucked really good.
Wait, you put that in your multi?
Yeah, bro.
You put those in your multi. You do those nuts one where you actually pick the
Always
round and the
every
finish
UFC I'll put 2 ridiculous ones.
Okay.
Like smaller bets, but they can get you fucking good.
course.
Because one day I'm gonna hit one.
Yeah.
There's gonna be one day.
My brother the other week put a 50-cent bonus bet on 13 card UFC. Picked all the favorites. The Holly Holm one. Got to the Holly Holm and she got choked. We were 12 legs in. You couldn't. It was like $400 off a 50-cent bet.
No way.
And Holly Holm got choked. We're texting back and forth, going, we're seeing the tick, 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 and I'm like, are you serious? He goes, that's the one I just picked all the favorites.
Oh, that's
And
fucked,
Holly
bro.
Holm let us down in the final. Ropeable, mate. That's ropeable game.
Fuck. Wait, dude, same thing happened to me. What happened to Declan? When Tony Ferguson versus Oliveira.
Yeah, the first round
I
submission,
had Oliveira by first round submission.
Yeah.
And I can't remember where I was, but I put $100 on Charles Oliveira by submission first round. It would have been like a fair bit of money.
Yeah.
And
even in the first round, you think it'd be like minimum 4 or 5 to 1.
And no, it was more than that.
More than that?
Because
Eight to 1?
I put submission round 1.
Yeah.
So it was like $8 or $11.
Yeah, I would have said 8.
So I would have won a fair bit.
Yeah.
But so I've like celebrated when he got Tony in that armbar.
It was right at the end.
I was
Tony
like, oh my
just
God,
let it
it's
go.
over. It's over.
Yeah.
And then I remember like I was so stoked. And then like 20 seconds later, I look over and I'm like, why are they in their corners?
Why on the stools?
Like, why are they?
You and Mooney were the same. You both had the same story. The round ended and they've gotten up and he's gone off to buy rounds for it. Like
Declan
rounds
went
for
to the
everyone.
toilet or went to go buy rounds or something.
Yeah.
And apparently he was like, he's come back and round 2 started.
Yeah, he's like, no, this cannot be happening. Yeah, gambling on fights is the worst.
It's so
like
heartbreaking.
You think you're the most educated on it, you can figure it out, but then it always throws a spanner in the works.
No way. I did win a very good chunk of money on... Who did Garn knock out before he got to Ngannou?
Before he got to Ngannou, Tuivasa. He knocked out Tuivasa in Paris, in El Patio, when they were singing. They were singing some kind of anthem at him. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, I can't remember which fight. It was a brilliant knockout too. I'm pretty sure. I can't remember if it was light heavyweight or heavyweight.
When he's come up, he was like submitting people. I remember he heel hooked Deontay Mays.
I'm thinking of light heavyweight. I won like a really good chunk.
Can't be at light heavyweight.
No, it wasn't. No. That's why I'm switching up in my head of which fight it was now because I can't remember. I just remember it was a brilliant knockout.
Yeah.
And it was like second round.
That's what I usually like to go when you can win some money. For some reason, you get the feeling of it's going to be a second round KO.
And it depends
like
if you're like watching someone's lead up to the fight and you're paying a lot of attention to the sport.
You think you can predict it.
You can, but you can kind of see when someone's heaps confident and they're like really. Like through the fight where it doesn't show everything, but if you really intently follow the sport, you know this person's coach just passed away or this person, you know what I mean?
They're
and all
leading
these
to what
things,
the performance
all these
might actually
little
come out as.
life things that happen, like it's a benefit to know when you're gambling on it.
Yeah.
But
definitely.
in all saying, I'm just going for Hail Marys. I do not care about any of that.
You gotta love a good Hail Mary, man. You try and think you have the most educated guess on it, and it just never plays out.
I'm not fucking with any of that.
Oh, nah. I always try and think, like, at the moment we got one with the work guys, and so I put multis on, but try and be a little bit smarter instead of the old 8-leg multi.
Yeah.
You'll do like a 4-leg multi with
I'll
some of
give
the
you-
favorites and be
I'll
like,
give you a
this
multi.
might work out better. And like,
Let's do a multi right now.
what, on the UFC this weekend?
Yeah.
You know
Let's
who's
do
on,
one.
You know who's on this weekend?
Who?
You got Rob Font versus Corey Sandhagen's the main event.
Yes, I was gonna. One of my mates just messaged me, and he was saying he sends us his multi. We all send each other our multis of the week if there's a UFC on.
Yeah.
And he messaged me with thoughts, and I think he had Sandhagen knock out rounds 2, 3, or 4.
See, I thought Sandhagen by knockout just by the Font being primarily a boxer, and then Sandhagen just having so many more variety of weapons. Like he's got knockouts with flying knees, he's got knockdowns with heel kicks.
The co-main event's Andrade.
Andrade versus who she got? The other chick's the heavy favorite. Oh, Tatiana Suarez. The female Khabib.
Yeah, and he put Suarez in the multi.
Yeah, the issue is Suarez has been having all the injuries. The last 3 years, it's been neck injuries, the leg injury, like done her knees.
Which girl fighter just come back recently? With
a
long injury, and she's like 16-0. No, not 16. She's like an undefeated fighter.
And she's just come back.
Was it Suarez?
Well, yeah, Suarez, because she's only had one fight, and this is her second fight back after all those massive injuries.
She
and
got
she fought up in weight.
She have an O? Is she undefeated?
Yeah, undefeated. Yeah.
How many? 8 or?
I think she's like 9 or 10 now, something like
9
that.
or 10?
Yeah, 9 or 10 and 0.
But
she was like an Olympic level wrestler.
Women's MMA seems like it's really died off in the pay-per-view kind of scene at the moment.
Well, because Rose Namajunas, they tried to build up to be a big star. She had a good personality that people love.
They've been unlucky.
They've been chopping and changing, much like light heavyweight now that Jones has gone
They're
back.
fighting for
King. Now, and then one wins the title, gets injured, gets rid of it. They've done that twice now. Jamal Hill vacated the belt because he got injured.
I really hope light heavyweight gets back to where it used to be.
Yeah, because the Jones, before the Jones
That's
era,
what I'm saying, though.
Decimated
but if, say, Izzy's eventually going up to light heavyweight. Eventually.
Maybe.
He is.
Maybe he doesn't have to.
No, he's going up there. He's got to fight. There's no fucking main card in Australia right now because there's no one for Izzy to fight.
Oh, well, they said it. They said it's all. Oh, it's signed. It's also
No, it's not.
It's not. It's definitely not.
They're saying that because they've charged people $400 fucking for the bleachers.
They sold. Yeah.
Yeah.
They sold.
Ridiculous. Fucking ridiculous.
For people, if anyone's listening from outside Australia, they're absolutely gouging.
No, we always get
us.
fucked.
Yeah, we get
always get
over here.
fucked.
It puts me off every time.
Every fucking time we get fucked. The only time we didn't get fucked, actually, we got fucked with Volkanovski as well. Bro, do you know how hard it was to get tickets to Volkanovski?
Yeah.
Do you know how hard it was?
Out that it's scalps.
No, because the scalps fucking buy them. Exactly. And then they resell them for $2,000 for the worst seats. But that card, guess how many? The back row was $115.
Yeah.
And that card was one of the best cards of the fucking year.
Yeah.
How can...
Oh, when I was saying how much cheaper it was. For
yeah.
Sorry,
I just had a real moment
because he was there. He was feeling it, guys. Compared to,
I wish everyone could have felt that though. Yeah. It was such a select few.
Oh, it's electric in those stadiums when magical moments happen. Oh, it's great.
I've never gonna peak that high again.
Well, as a man that's just come back from a massive stint in Japan, and then I've had
a year.
Yeah, you've had a decent go of it.
I've had a good year. Yeah, I've had a good financial year.
See, there he goes.
Is that what they call it? A
good financial year?
No, not financially.
Could be financially because you've spent so much money on all your trips, mate.
Yeah, no shit. I will never financially recover from Japan, bro. I said that to my missus as well. I was like,
those big ones international, they can really hit the hip pocket.
We are broke. No, it's not that.
Sorry, love.
It's always
We're going to be eating noodles when we get back. It always not the good kind.
It always sucks when you come back from holiday.
Of course.
Because it's like,
come back to reality, mate. That's always the way. That was the other few from the weekend. The fight night coming up. There's a guy called Jake Hadley on the undercard. He's a Pommy fella, I think. Wicked submissions. Heaps good grappler. Like fun grappler to watch in MMA.
On the early prelims?
Early prelims. I think he's the second or third fight. Except for the absolute savages.
I'll watch it.
Unfortunately, it's us. We watch the early fight past prelims.
In all honesty, and I'm going to say this now, I've never been more out of touch with MMA in my life.
You were saying last time because this takes a lot of it. You got actual.
I don't have time.
Yeah,
I don't have time to because I used to, like we talked about heaps of times. Yeah. We'll watch as soon as it's over. You watch the breakdown post fights. At the moment, I don't have any time for it, but I really want to get back into it. I will still watch every card.
You just realize anything that you're into enough can be a sinkhole of your time. But how do you look at your spent time? Do you feel you get something out of it? Because I'm the same, mate. After all the fights, you're watching some shows, but then I have enough diverse interests that I can roll it over and be like, that got me super excited here. I'm then going to go watch this thing about UAPs and UFOs. And then,
don't get me started on
it's all fresh. It's fresh in Congress right now, mate. UAPs because UFOs, it's tainted. It's a tainted word. So we now got unidentified aerial phenomena.
That's the they, them of UFOs. Yeah, AFP, fuck off. AFP shit, mother. Oh, fuck that.
They come up with all of it.
Nah.
Before we go too far into that, though, the last one I want to mention on the fights, is a really should be a fun one to watch. That he's got a great name, Ignacio Bahamondes. He's the bloke that he fought
in featherweight.
Yeah, I think he's featherweight because he fought the bloke that's fighting on the Ultimate Fighter this year on the one with Connor and Chandler.
Have you been watching?
I haven't. No, but I knew he was on there because it's the veterans, and he was always fun to watch. Roosevelt Roberts.
Oh, Roosevelt Roberts.
Yeah, they fought.
He got knocked out his last fight, didn't he?
I know he won on the series, and then I think he might have just lost. I'm not too sure. But against Bahamondes, they were having a wicked back and forth, and then Bahamondes caught him with the
and that's this weekend?
They're not fighting this weekend. Bahamondes knocked him out with a wheel kick, and that's what sent him his marching orders. And that's why Roberts went out, got a few wins out in the circuit, got a call up to the Tough House, and that's why he's doing that now. But he's been a good fighter, but Bahamondes is a fun striker, like really fun to watch. And I think I want to say he's from Bedul. He's from one of those places where you just like, his dad come over here, he did it rough. He's come over to absolute savage, and his striking is so good.
UFC 294 might be the best card we've ever seen.
294? Which one's 294?
Oliveira Islam. Isn't it?
Is that 294?
Is it?
I'll
have a look right now for you.
Is that Abu Dhabi?
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
There's many people that want to get... That was supposed to be Kevin Gastelum versus Shavkat Rakhmonov, right? But
is it 294 or 293 I'm thinking of?
No, 293.
No, 293 is horrible.
291 is just what the BMF, right? So 292 is
fuck,
next.
it's almost UFC 300.
I know.
It's almost UFC 300.
Does that mean they're going to try and
green
put
ring? Remember that hideous fucking
yellow
ring?
Yellow for 200.
What was that?
They were trying to be gold. The gold
was that a
standard.
good card?
Yeah,
that was the one where they.
But it fell apart because it was supposed to be Jones.
I was
going to
say, and then that fell apart, and then he fought Anderson in a horrible fight.
In a horrible fight. Yeah, that is correct.
Who was the main event?
And then it was Amanda Nunes versus versus Misha Tate, and that's when Nunes strangled her and won the title, and that was the main event because they were going to make Brock Lesnar versus Mark Hunt the main event, and then the outcry from the fans was enough because it was like, well, you've got title fights. You can't put a bloke that's come back in after all the years, but obviously to sell the pay-per-views, and that was what led to the that was the percolation of the $4 billion sale to WME, which is now just exponentially grown since they've gone hand in hand. Did you see that thing with The Rock giving that bloke from Zimbabwe a house?
He's a UFC fighter.
He is. He just had his first fight and got performance of the night.
He did.
After probably being on an 8-8 contract, 8 to win, 8 to show, 8 to win. So coming in on the first contract, and he sent all his money. He's living at the gym, and he sent all the money back to his hometown to build a water well.
Why wouldn't Dana hook him up?
Because Dana's not thinking that much like that.
He does a lot of shit like that.
Yeah, but why not the business? And then there was the thing. The Rock's got, and this is probably why The Rock did it.
The Rock. He's a dickhead.
Oh, come on, man. Don't be... Everyone's personal favourite, The Rock. You can't have anything bad.
Oh, he's not a dick. He's not a dickhead. Right. That's just me being jealous.
Jealous of his success.
That's just me being jealous.
My thing, because they've got the shoe deal, right? Team Rock with Under Armour and...
I'd just like to be taller than 5'10", man.
Right. So you look at The Rock as like, he's the god that I can never be. He's physically so imposing.
Do you know what's so funny? I went to my boy Goobsy's it was Cogs' show, but Goobsy was co-headlining, or he was on the undercard, the prelims. What do you call them?
I know the prelims would be what you call the prelims of a music show.
He was on the prelim, but he was the main event. He was the main prelim.
Yeah, the main event of the prelims, beautiful.
And he did fucking excellent.
So it was his birthday that day as well.
Yeah, and there was heaps of people. I know that was the first moment. I was like, oh, people watch my podcast. I was like, these cunts from the north.
They knew.
But it's, you know what? It's always from the south or the north. There's no one from the west or the east.
Wow.
Wow.
We know why. But that's okay.
That's all right. I can deal with that.
We're hitting our market demographic.
Yeah, that's our market demographic. Those fucking Greek little 18-year-olds don't want to fucking hear me talk shit in Henley Beach.
About fights and everything else that they think they know about.
Fuck, what were we going on about?
Or was it just before that?
Oh.
You talk about your podcast, Goobsy.
This bloke comes up to me and he's like, oh, you're Sesh with Sav. I was like, yeah, man. And he's like, I thought you'd be I thought you'd be taller.
Oh no!
And I was
the
like-
video. We sit down, mate. What even gives you that idea?
I was like, no one's ever said. I don't know how to process that.
You just call me short?
I don't know, but I don't know how to process that because no one's like ever thought I was tall. I thought everyone knew I was pretty short.
Right. But yeah.
But when I say I'm fucking short, I'm like 5'6", 5'7". I'm taller than Volkanovski.
you Joe Rogan's height.
No, he's bigger than me.
He's he's only like
He's bigger
5.
than
He's
me.
5'8", isn't he?
Yeah, but he's a gorilla.
Yeah. So he's got girth, mate.
Yeah,
he's a
gorilla.
chode.
He's a gorilla.
He walks with that girth.
But I was like, I didn't know if I was like fucking offended. I was like,
Can't be offended by that, mate.
so can you if anyone who watches this, can you inbox me and think how tall I was before this?
What gives you this idea?
If anyone watches this and gets to this point, can you please message me and tell me what height you would think I am if you don't know me?
By looking at him, sitting down. Yeah, how's your posture, mate? Yeah, can you tell?
I'm the most slouchy
Play the
motherfucker
guessing game,
ever.
yeah?
I don't know. But that just took me by surprise.
Yeah, well, when you see you on video compared to most people that have known you throughout, is they see you in person. So
I'm
you get the
fucking
straight
taller
idea.
than some motherfuckers.
But of course, mate, of course.
How tall are you?
6 foot.
6 foot. Have you ever seen Bradley Martin? I was going to have like a moment right now. Yeah, I'm 6'2". Have you seen that?
I don't, but he's that same bloke that he's going to fight Mighty Mouse, isn't he? They're going to have a little scrap.
Are they?
Is Bradley Martin the bloke
thought it
that
was
likes
Mike
Sharp
Perry.
and... Oh, what was that? Doo-doo.
Oh, doo-doo. I thought that was Jake. Did you see the thing Jake Paul did?
Is Jake Paul is fighting Nate Diaz on the weekend as
but
well.
he offered. He was like, "I'm sick of this Bradley Martin talking shit, so I'll give you like, was it 7 figures
Yeah.
to fight Mike Perry in a street fight, like no gloves MMA, like a street style fight."
I did not hear this.
Yeah.
I did not hear this wager.
Mike
Jake
Perry
Paul threw
will-
this out.
Yeah, Mike Perry will kill him.
I would think so. This is the same Bradley Martin that goes on
The
Sharp.
big- He's a unit.
Yeah.
He's a very successful dude. He's pretty.
Wasn't he the guy that talked shit as well about beating up a street fight
Yeah.
against who's the really good boxer? He beat
not
Haney.
Javante, Devin Haney.
Devin Haney.
Yeah, he don't. And I don't mind him. He's a dickhead because he knows it gets him clicks.
Right.
Like he's definitely playing a bit of a prick character, or he's just a prick.
Who knows? Who
But-
knows when it comes to that?
But if he thinks he's even getting his hands on Devin Haney, he just is so fucking mentally
I
unstable.
think he said though that like
If
in
he
boxing,
thinks
no,
that.
but he's like in a street fight, like what? Anyone that
No.
doesn't train long enough, mate. What's the
No.
first go-to they have? Well, in a street fight, I'd stab you, or
Nah.
I'd grab a bottle, or
So
I'd hit
will
you with
he.
a bat. Oh, just you're like,
He'll
all
knock
right.
you out before that.
That's what I think. Like before you grab the weapon, you got to realize
Mate,
he might be able to dance his
Yous
way
aren't-
inside. It's like
Yous aren't getting into an argument from me to the door. Yous are getting. If you're in an argument with someone, you're fucking this close to him.
you're close. He
He's
thinks he thinks gorilla strength.
He's gonna
will
left.
overtake
He's
anything.
gonna left hook you so quickly
Oh, no,
that you wouldn't have. You won't even fucking hear it.
And that's Haney. And then they're like, well, Mighty Mouse will grab a hold of you and he can monkey
He'll
tail
kill
you.
you.
He'll just climb onto your back from under your leg. Like
He'll kill you.
You wouldn't even know. Yeah, he'd
He
choke you
said
to sleep.
he said he was asking Schwab. Schwab's a big motherfucker.
Schwab.
Schwab, he's a dickhead, but he's a big motherfucker.
He is a tall man.
He's a bit chinny.
He's UFC. He told a story about him
He's a
being a
bit
little bit
chinny.
chinny. He didn't take a shot too great.
But he'd fucking kill Bradley Martin.
Oh, yeah, he knows that as
He
well.
would kill him.
That's why Shah brought up to him to say that Mighty Mouse, like, yeah, you might think this will work, but Mighty Mouse will kill you. He goes, 125. He goes, I'll just pop his head off.
Fucking 260
Yeah,
pounds.
yeah. You just like, mate, that big hand would go to reach for him, and he'd be like, do 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 do. He'd be like firing lasers at you from every which way.
He plays MMORPGs for like
I know.
a hobby.
His
He's a
reaction
psycho.
time. I know his reaction time. Have you seen the celebrations of when he won the UFC title compared to he beat some Elder Ring final boss and how
yeah.
excited he gets?
There's this video of him like retaining his title. Mighty Mouse is retaining his title, and he's like his
He's just like,
cool.
yeah, wah.
But
Oh, mate, the genuine excitement to beat that RPG boss that he probably spent how many hours?
have you seen this this trailer for this game? I think it comes out this month. It might already be out. It's called Life of P.
No.
Have you not heard it?
No, I
Do you
haven't
like
heard of
Souls kind of type game? Dark Souls games?
I like many types of games, but I don't play that many games anymore. I like all the story, but then to actually then buy it and play it would be a different thing.
Well, there's that Life of P is like a Souls-like kind of Souls genre games, like hard as fuck, good like cool mechanics. It looks sick, and it's based on Pinocchio. It's
Really?
like an evil Pinocchio game. It's really cool. It looks cool. It looks good.
I think the next big release I'm looking forward to, because it's the few games I play, is the next Assassin's Creed. And
They're going back to fucking the good shit.
They're going
back to normal Assassin's Creed.
That's what I'm wondering about, because they've done so many iterations of it.
No,
now.
they're going back to like you're an assassin.
That's what. Well,
And like you're rolling around and like you're being an assassin and the climbing and like 1, 2, and 3 and Black Flag.
yeah,
And Black Flag.
I thought number 1 was super repetitive. I liked the way they were starting to do the open world. My
Bro,
favorite.
remember when you could climb everything for the first time?
Yeah, well, they did that because it was always like get to the towers and climb these things. But I've liked what they were starting to do with it. Like my favorite versions are the
Valhalla and shit.
No, I didn't. Valhalla I bought. I put some hours into it, but it wasn't my favorite.
Yasmin, the biggest mistake ever was letting her download that game.
Oh, she busted in like 60 to 80 hours into it and just...
60 to 80.
Oh, that's it?
Is that it?
Oh, boy. See, I do about that, and that's about it.
Because she's like a hardcore gamer.
Yeah.
Like I used to love first-person shooters.
Yeah.
I used to love COD, but that's a very stupid teenage... Back in the day when it was not everything had to be fucking equal with every...
your time. Just
like,
sit in front of the games.
young boys would always gravitate towards COD, and we'd talk shit to each other in the lobby.
Back in my mate was FIFA. We could play FIFA for like
hours.
5 hours in a row. Yeah.
Hours.
Just with each other and just cycle through the controllers.
But that was the funnest time because COD lobbies were notorious
go off at each
for
other.
fucking some heinous.
Mate.
Like some things would not
Brutal.
be in the Geneva Convention. You wouldn't be able to do it, bro.
Declaration be like, nope.
You would
can't
not
say
be
that.
able to say it.
Brutal.
But every single person who played Call of Duty when they were a teenager and you're a 90s baby, you would get cancelled.
Yeah, absolutely.
Everyone.
It's an issue that we all have to deal with now.
Everyone.
We're told that everything that we used to be deemed acceptable is no longer acceptable. So
Everyone.
we have to police ourselves. We're like, I thought that was normal. That's not normal anymore. Okay. What you're saying in a chat room, hey, they have that same issue now with X and Twitters and Instagrams.
What do you think about the X?
I don't give a shit.
Do you know what's funny? I watched this YouTuber called Moist Critical. He's
Most critical?
Moist.
Oh, moist.
Yeah, Penguins. Or Penguins Zero.
Right.
And he's like just a real dry humor, monotone. He's hilarious.
Okay.
He's fucking hilarious, but he has very good takes on things. He's a professional whinger,
Okay.
but without being a whinger. Like he's not a whinger.
Is he great on TikTok? Is that why?
No,
He'd do like a minute video and it's like...
he hates TikTok.
Oh.
He's a YouTuber.
Oh, okay.
But he's so funny.
He's got whinging
He's
hot takes.
he's a almost like a commentator of the internet.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's funny when you
like-
can be a commentator. There's so much around.
Think of John Anik at
Yeah.
what he does.
Yeah.
Moist Critical is the YouTube version of John Anik,
Okay.
in my opinion.
Of course, that's
but
why
he's
you
very
like John
funny.
Anik is your goat for
But he's very
broadcasting. So
Moist Critical is the goat of just the internet. He's just the greatest.
big call.
He's the greatest. He's just a good commentator and he's got good views on things.
Nice.
Anyway, what were we talking about?
You're just talking him up so highly. You forgot the point of what got you there.
fuck.
I can't even remember actually what point you brought up the
Yeah, fuck. I got a little bit higher.
the moist collab.
The Moist collab.
Yeah, they were talking about the on the YouTubes.
Yeah, what were we talking about YouTube?
Why did we go on about YouTube?
Fuck knows, bro.
I don't know.
Cheers
man.
to that.
Cheers to you.
This is nice beer, by the way.
Yeah, just brought them
Xylophone.
around. It's I've been on these for a little while now. More than just getting off the standard. Obviously, you're not buying them in any pub that you're going to go to, but
Yeah.
they're a good 6-pack you can buy when you want to come hang out with a mate and shoot the shit, talk a bunch of fights and talk a bunch of life. And I get a text from Sav when he's over in Japan doing some things, and I'm listening to some podcasts and doing all this. And I think the first one I sent you, and then I realized you were away, was about Eric Weinstein.
Yeah.
Because they were talking about the UAPs and the evidence for it, and because this was all about to break, because you were over there for 2 weeks, so that would have been like 3 weeks ago or so. I think you were over there for a few days. Because then I remember, and then I'd telling you about Yuval Noah Harari on who wrote the book *Sapiens*. He was on Lex Friedman's podcast.
Yeah.
And yeah, the ideas and...
Do you still listen to Lex's podcast a lot?
I'm picking and choosing. I've got so many podcasts that I've listened to throughout time. Yeah. I've got like a giant list of like, not even subscriptions, just ones I've listened to. And now I'm very selective with, do I want to go and listen to... And then you've got your usual standards that you listen to a lot more, but...
I had to ease off them.
On podcasts as well?
Yeah.
Much like anything, it's time. Do you have free time to have it in your ears?
I used to wear an AirPod everywhere. And I would,
Oh, yeah.
during COVID, because we had no customers at the shop, I literally had... Well, we could have customers, but it was a different vibe. No one was in the shop. They had to wait outside.
Right. Yeah.
There was no one allowed in the shop.
Yeah.
2 customers at a time. And then we'd get them out and they'd go to their cars and we had beepers.
Yeah.
And when their food was ready, they'd leave their car and come in.
Yeah.
That's how we managed COVID.
So it was easier to have something in your ear because
so
you could do your job.
All through COVID, from 7 a.m. to 8:30 p.m. every day, I would listen to maybe 5 podcasts.
Yeah. Okay, so how long did you do that? How long did you do that for?
Over 3 years.
Over 3 years. I did that for 8 to 10 years when I was doing a job on a commercial site. I'd keep one ear in. I'd drive to the job site. I'd keep one in. It was doing insulation work, and so I could just keep one in my ear, and that would have been from when I was like 23 years old.
Wait, how long have AirPods been out?
This wasn't even AirPods, mate. I would have
the string. No, how long have do
you know what? AirPods would probably be 10 years.
I've been listening to podcasts heavy. That was like really heavy. But I was listening to podcasts since I was 20.
There you go.
19, 20.
Yeah. See, I was probably...
it would be 19, 20.
Yeah.
But then again, I've always been a YouTube rat.
Yeah. I got onto podcasts early because I got onto Rogan early. And he was obviously one of the first ones for podcasting. Because I got onto him through watching UFC, and then I found my way to his website, and through his website I found his podcast, and then I was like, what the hell is this? And then I started watching it.
What episode? Well,
44. Episode 44. Yeah.
44?
Yeah, 44.
What the fuck?
Yeah, and so you know how long he's been podcasting? Because you know why? Like, not smoking, not doing anything. The podcast was about the history of marijuana, and I was like, what is this? I came for the Fear Factor guy and the UFC commentator, and he's talking.
Just wait 1 second. You surprised me so much. I jumped out my shoes and my shoes ended up on the wrong feet. I jumped out of my shoes and I put my shoes back on and they were in the wrong fucking holes.
When you said 20, I was like, mate, I've been listening longer than that. So.
No, bro, no, because I think I jumped into the Joe Rogan podcast at like... I want to say like episode 190 or 200.
Yeah.
190. It was either 190 or 200.
You were so confident in one of our ones. We talked about Eddie Bravo and his appearance numbers. And I was like, I was listening to him when Eddie Bravo was on nearly every third episode.
I reckon I jumped in at about 190 to 200. Yeah. But then I obviously I went back and watched a lot of the couch episodes.
Yeah.
Because they're so unhinged.
Oh, yeah.
Does he still have them uploaded?
I'm not sure on Spotify. But probably back in his archives.
Do you know
on
what?
His website,
we should do a series of us drinking and reacting to episode 1.
Oh, dude, but episode 1's stupid. Even he says episode 1 is stupid.
What about 2?
You want to start with the first comedian and just see how it goes. The first Joey Diaz appearance.
I was just going to say we should react to the first Joey Diaz appearance.
Mate, you can just watch the compilations.
Red Band's in all of them, isn't he? Because he produces it.
Yep, he was the producer.
Yeah.
He was the producer.
When did Jamie come in?
Bloody hell,
like 100?
Like 600, man.
Jamie?
Yeah, Red Band was in it for a while. He was in it for a hot second. Part of the old Death Squad, because that's what all the podcasts for the comedians, they all branched off when they were all looking at Rogan going, what are you doing all this time in the podcasting? And now look at how comedians, and look at how most people know. Look at what Sav does, just about getting the word out. And then it can be...
How crazy that Joe Rogan, and people hate on him as much as you want, call you a dick rider. He's the GOAT. He's the GOAT of podcasts.
Opening eyes to the reach of your voice through the interwebs.
He's still bigger than any fucking news outlet in the world.
Consistent in what he does and to grow it the way he has.
I don't know about now since he moved to Spotify. I imagine his numbers have dropped since he's moved strictly to Spotify. Maybe.
I don't even know.
I don't know.
Pay for Spotify,
I don't know because you obviously don't see how many people listen. I don't think.
No.
But someone might hear this and they actually do.
They
I
might
don't
actually know. Yeah.
But I imagine
they're closing Stitcher, the Stitcher podcast app, which is one of the main apps that I use for listening to podcasts.
Why do you use those apps?
Stitcher was one of the first ones I got.
Exclusive podcasts.
No, nothing like that. It was just the ones I watched. It was a lot. It was just easy to find on Stitcher.
Is mine on Stitcher?
No,
it's not.
No,
what
I
do
don't
you
think
use
so.
on mine?
Spotify.
Use Spotify.
Yeah, it made it interesting because one of your episodes was delayed and it didn't get uploaded, and I was wondering if it was because of the content.
It was down.
It's down one below underneath. Your numbers got mixed up because of it.
No, I see.
Because that came through, I was like, "Ooh, he's been banned. He's been. They moved it," and it was like, "Oh no, wait. Oh, now it's up."
No, because I went
to 58. It's like the last few ones.
Because I went 58. What people don't understand is, and I'm trying to stop doing it as much because I want my podcast to be as currently relevant as possible.
Right.
So sometimes when you're starting out, you do some weeks I'll do 4 podcasts.
Right.
The fourth one
won't
come out for a month.
Yep.
So but I rarely do that. I try and do it weekly, but it's tiring.
What they call in the business banking them.
Yeah, I put them in the bank just for times like I went to Japan, and because I uploaded the 3 episodes in a weird order. Like I named them and then I uploaded them at different times.
The thing's about numbering, you have to number to know your episodes, but then it's like when it's numbered, it's it's out of order.
No, so I didn't know that you have to upload them in a certain way on the thing I used to upload to Spotify. Right. So then heaps of people messaged me and they're like, "Oh, no episode this week," and I was like, "Yeah, there is."
And then it chewed through.
And then I couldn't find it because I didn't think to look under it, so I was fucking like a Japan blind drunk.
As any good trip should be. You just spend absolutely leathered the whole trip. Why would you not?
I got there was one night that was bad.
Yeah? I heard you at the one you were telling
there was one night
about stumbling bad. And you're like the etiquette of the Japanese people keeping in unison, following the rules. My
missus wanted to fucking disown me that night, bro.
Leave you in the streets of Tokyo by yourself.
She was hammered as well, but so she thought it was funny. But she's like, the look on the Japanese people's faces when you were trying to stand up, but then you couldn't walk straight, so you were running diagonally.
I got this. No, you don't.
Crouched as well. So I'm like doing these ones like a crab, just fucking zigzagging through Osaka.
Why? Because you're like, I gotta move. I can't keep to these strict lines.
We met these Americans, and they're just the coolest people in the world. They were so cool, bro.
You gotta love the people you meet on trips.
When you meet people, you've been overseas.
Yeah.
You meet people, and you're like, you're a friend for life.
Yeah.
Like you're a legend, and you're from like a totally different place. Yeah. And we happened to be at the same place at the same time. It was like and we hung out with them heaps.
Yeah, while you were there, yeah.
And we got so loose one night because I think it was like American kind of versus Australian. But who's
going the hardest?
But this American's 6'4" and built like G.I. Joe.
And you're like, we're on. All right.
And I was like, we're on.
I don't want to have to fight you physically, but I'll definitely try and drink you under the table and give it a good hot crack.
We were getting hammered.
Go on, drink for drink.
And drink for drink. We were just having fun. And then I don't even remember what happened, but we ended
karaoke bars or anything involved?
No, yes.
Straight up yes. Oh, yes.
So and then we went to this club and we were drinking heaps. And this is really weird to say, but when you go to the toilet in Japan, I need a cigarette. I'm sorry.
He's telling this story like it's a sex. I got a lot of cigarette for this. Like he's
no.
It's pleasurable.
So when you go to the toilet in Japan as a Westerner, the Japanese men really look at your penis.
Really?
Yeah, it's weird.
Make strong eye contact with it.
No, yeah, like they'll lean over
Oh,
And
the old sideways.
What's
Oh,
up?
crook the head.
Yeah,
Hey,
dude.
man.
Yeah, and they'll look at it, and I don't know if it's like, I don't know, because I'm a straight up grower, but it's still not horrible. But you know what I'm
I
saying?
can see when you're saying
but
it's
but it's not like, oh, I've look at that. It's
Yeah,
pretty
yeah.
It's like a little centipede when it's fucking
also,
cold.
You know how your pubes maintained enough that can be
Nah,
very
not at
telling,
all.
not a telling
Not
story.
not
about.
even slightly.
So you got mass coverage as well.
But anyway, the moral of the story is I went to take a piss, and then Michael went to take a piss after me, and I was sitting down with this bloke, and I was drinking, and I was like, man, do you have a problem with
boundaries.
Japanese men looking at your dick? And he was like, I wanted to say the same thing to you.
So it's noticed from a Western perspective that it's like
It's weird.
Is this just why is it every bloke that we walk in they want to look at our junk?
Yeah, it was
looking
weird.
looking at the white man's junk, mate.
But anyway, we fucking ended up there. We got hammered. I met a Japanese wrestler. He's in America right now.
Fantastic.
No, I seen this cunt.
Now, when we talk wrestling, we are saying legit
Taylor Ford.
Yeah, like freestyle wrestling, Greco-Roman wrestling.
Taylor Ford.
Not WWE.
Yeah, it's the hardest art in the world almost.
Yes, it's ridiculous.
No one likes doing it.
It's the hardest. Even in jiu-jitsu, when you know how important it is to consistently train wrestling, it just takes such a toll on the body to actually do
It's
it properly.
horrible.
It's
it's not horrible, but like it's grueling.
When you say Taylor, though, because she's going through it now, obviously, traveling the
Yeah,
world.
shout out to Taylor.
Yeah,
Doing
traveling the world, doing all the competitions.
When's she back?
She was only back for like a week or two, and then she's off again.
But yeah,
I think she might be back now.
I seen this bloke with the worst cauliflower ears I've ever seen.
And yeah, you were just
Ever.
like, that's my mate. Going with him.
But no, it was actual like disturbing. They were so bad, and he was 18.
Habib style.
Bad, bro, but they were lumpy. Like they were fresh because he's obviously very active. He's young, so
Just let them go.
they were just full and like
you let them
he
go.
must have trained that day.
Yeah.
But
So were they
I was
squishy?
like he couldn't speak any English.
Yeah.
And he was like, I was like, oh my god, these, and I was like the ears. I was pointing at his ears, and I was like, legend.
You're just like, what you very nice.
Like, very nice,
Very
good,
nice.
very nice.
Your ears are good.
But I was like, yeah, you're a sick cunt. So we're going to have a drink. And we ended up just drinking. I got him on Snapchat and he just flew to America to compete and train there.
Oh, nice.
He must be good. His brother's an MMA fighter.
So is he using wrestling? Is he like straight up wrestling to do that, or is he wrestling to fight?
He's a wrestler. I was asking him if he ever wanted to fight. He's like, maybe one day.
Oh, okay.
Still young.
So if he wasn't really speaking any English, were you getting real broken English?
Yeah,
Like, what was the conversation style like?
You can kind of get each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. When you, because I've travelled a fair bit and like a lot of people I used to hang around with don't speak English.
Yeah.
Or not English, but it's their second language.
Yeah, yeah.
Like a lot of ethnics, like older parents and shit, they don't.
Yeah.
And
See, plenty, mate, on building sites now.
So you
Believe me,
kinda-
there's plenty of English as a second, even if it's a non-existent
you
language.
get used to these ones.
Yeah,
Just-
hand gestures.
Yeah, and like you can
Good
kind of figure it
spiritedness.
out.
It's like we can keep talking
But-
to each other, but
Japanese is another thing that me and this dude Michael from Washington DC we fucking
state capital.
One of the moments I was like, this bloke's a mate forever.
brilliant.
He was we were talk. Yeah. What was?
Well, you can have that one. Otherwise,
Is there another? Is there another
kind.
flavour?
We got another kind, mate. We got some tropical haze here. You just let me know which one you want. We'll leave them both there.
One of the moments. What was I saying? Fuck right.
We were talking about Washington DC because the guy was there, a friend for life from America.
Friend from Live Michael. Yeah. I'm thinking of because there was so many stories with him. He was so fucking funny, bro.
So how many days did you hang out with him? How long? Were you there together for?
only like four nights.
4 nights.
Yeah, but they were like days apart because we had
Were
a
they
similar.
staying close to you in the same residence?
We
How'd
had
you
a
run
similar.
into them?
We had a similar itinerary. So we started in Tokyo and we were staying in Shinjuku, which is the main city in Tokyo. Mm-hmm. And they have this little thing in Shinjuku called Memory Lane. It's this series of corridors that are as wide as where we're sitting to the wall.
Yep.
So it's a street, but there's like 200 restaurants on it because it's vertical. There's streets. There's restaurants like 2 stories up. There's restaurants in basements.
The population level that they
no,
have
but
there
it's
for the
cool.
space that
It's
they have.
cool.
Yeah.
It's cool. But yeah, we sat down to eat and drink, and the bars are usually 6 to 8 seaters, and there was 2 seats left, so we had to sit next to them. So then we were drinking, getting hammered on the first night in Tokyo, and realised we had similar itineraries.
Nice. It's always a pleasurable thing. Especially, I haven't been to too many countries. One only like really springs. Wow, there's 2 that spring to mind.
Oh, sorry, I fucking found out the story. I know the story now that I was trying to tell.
Here we go.
So
he's back, baby.
So I just because I stopped thinking about it, it came to me straight away.
That's how it works.
We were out, and in Japan they got 2 dialects. I'm gonna butcher. I don't want to even try because there's 2 different dialects. There's main Japanese, and then in my knowledge of it, it's like a more accessible kind of broken Japanese.
Differentiation between Cantonese and Mandarin for Chinese.
I have no idea, but it's like you just add a "u" at the end of some words.
Brilliant. I'm sure it's way more. I'm sure it's way more complicated for anyone that speaks it.
So we were out because I was going around Japan talking to them, and they would understand, and I'd buzz out because I'd be like, baru, like bar, or like toilet pepu.
Yeah, okay.
But that's what it is. Because you tell them, and they're like, oh.
They get the gist of what you're trying to say.
Yeah, but so one night we were drunk as, and Yaz and Michael's missus are talking, and Michael's missus says, yeah, he's so fucking annoying. All he does is just go up to people and add a "u" at the end of everything. And Yaz like looks at her and he's like, what? She's like, what? And he's like, yeah, he just adds like "u" to the end of things and thinks he's speaking Japanese.
In English, he just
it's really,
says it in English.
It's really inadvertently racist. And then Yaz is like, Sav does the exact same thing. And I'm like, it does work, watch this. And me and Michael go up to this group of guys because we were looking for somewhere to drink. And we're like, baru. And they were like, baru. Yes.
Yes. And you're like, do you know what I'm trying to say?
And you turn around and you just see the girls like, oh. They were definitely humouring us. That was not a word. They probably just spoke. They just probably spoke English. Yeah. They were probably from fucking California.
That's what you say. It's always when it comes the other way. You always gotta. Yeah, because the 2 times I remember Poland. I went to Poznan to watch a Euro soccer game.
Oh, so that would have been good.
Italy versus Croatia in the what was it? 2016 Euros, whatever it was.
Yeah.
Poznan. So there was riots a few days before we got there between the Irish and the Polish because they played each other in the groups. Ireland versus Poland. Got there. Not many people speak English. There was a whole story about losing our place of residence.
Yeah.
Cab driver could luckily translate and speak some English. And let's just say we had to figure out where our location was going to be to still use our tickets to go to the game. Went to go watch the game the first night we got there. Not the tickets in the stadium. Watched out. Nearly got in a fight with a local group because they thought we were Irish because I had a red-headed mate with me and I was wearing a green hat. So essentially I had to go talk everything down to fear of not getting us bashed when things were getting a little angry. And ordering food and all this stuff. It was when Polish weren't speaking English.
Yeah.
It wasn't Warsaw. You realise when you go out of the tourist destinations in some of these countries, because you have one thing. We had to go watch the Euro game. That was the main reason we were there. Ordering food, finding accommodation, interacting with locals becomes very difficult, I found, when they don't speak a lick of English.
Yeah.
And like you said, you're going to gestures and you're like, if you really need to get something like train tickets, and you got to make sure that someone understands some English to make sure that you're not going totally in the wrong direction.
The thing with Japan, though, that I feel is different is they're very nice, compassionate people.
More receptive.
They're very compassionate people. They will want to help you.
Yeah.
And so you can get away with signaling and shit. But in a lot of other countries,
say older European countries, they're a little more traditional.
A lot of people aren't as nice.
No.
Like they're like not people aren't just cunts in Australia.
Nah, go on, because that's the other one.
I mean?
That's the other one I heard of. Having an Italian background, obviously, I've been to Rome a few times, easier for tourists.
Yeah.
And then I went with my sister, and we had to stop off in Naples, and we heard the Napolese can be little pricks if you don't speak Italian. So my sister spoke a little bit and staying around, but to get on the train, we had this old grumpy bloke in the train station, and he's saying like he doesn't understand what my sister's saying. I'm like, well, if you don't understand what she's got to say, I have got nothing for you.
Yeah.
And then I'm starting to get shit there going, we're about to jump on a train and who knows where the hell we're going. And that's when my sister pulled me up. I'm like, this is a part of traveling. We're going to be fine. We're going to get there.
Yeah.
It's all good. It's all going to be good. That was a little freak out of language barriers by traveling and being like, I got no idea if we're going to end up where we think we're going to end up, and then how dangerous that can possibly be.
Yeah.
Then I'd walk the streets out there, and there was an old police officer that ended up walking us around. He's like, this is dangerous. My sister's like, no, I'm just going to walk back now.
There's one thing that sketches me about going, because I really want to go to South America.
Yeah.
But it just sketches me because I know...
People just disappear sometimes. Is that what you're worried about?
I know how loose I can get.
Yeah.
Like, I know...
Oh, don't just walk in the wrong direction.
I know there's a little demon inside me. And I will...
We all have a little demon
because,
inside
bro,
us, mate.
I have been... People think they've seen me drunk in Australia.
You go holiday drunk.
When I get fucking holiday drunk... I've ended up on different islands 6 hours apart.
Yeah. Oh, man. You can't do that in the Amazon jungle, man.
That's what I'm saying. Because...
It's too dangerous.
You know my mate Jacob, the one that I did the podcast with we were talking about?
Yeah.
He's travelled the world. And I think he's gone to... he did a lot of South America. And I was like, I really want to do an expedition into the Amazon jungle.
Yeah.
I really want, like a safe one, like
You know that though, but knowing the risk that comes along with it, you'd have to know that you can't get plastered.
No, what I'd have to do is I'd have to go straight there first.
Right.
And then go back through... I'd have to go back through South America.
Yeah.
You know, get that out
think
of it.
Think of it like,
and then
do the sober-minded thing first, and then obviously part of your holiday, you're going to want to get tanked, but go to a much more populated region, and don't get thrown to crocodiles or fed to snakes or taken off and stabbed somewhere randomly.
No,
because you're just like someone approaches you and you go like, "This is a great idea." No, Sav, you got no one in your ear to tell you this is not a great idea, mate.
And you know it's fucked because there will be a situation where someone's walking past like a toad and they're like, if you lick that toad, you hallucinate for 9 days. And
you will, and it would just be a poisonous toad and you die.
There'll just be me from fucking Morpheville. What'd you say?
Sounds interesting. Tell me more. What kind of toad?
They just wait for him to walk 3 paces, then...
Find Sav in the corner.
So what are you
doing?
Why are your lips? Why are your lips fucking purple?
They're blown up. It wasn't a fish. I didn't have a puff of fish. That's for sure.
I got malaria.
Oh, no. That is a genuine concern that you were saying between yellow fever and.
I got to work my way up to that. So I do know I got to work my way up to it because I think my abilities in that kind of scenario is way better than it because I've watched too much YouTube and survival things.
Right.
Like I think.
You think you know what you're doing.
I think I know what's going on, but I don't.
You know when they say it's like, oh, you watch it, you train, like to learn how to use a gun, you have to train to do it. It's like we understand by fighting. It's like you can think you know how to do it, but then if you don't train striking, you're not going to have the timing.
What about that dude from prison that visualized his escape every single day to the minute detail? Then he fucking did it.
Wow.
Like he never practiced it, but he did it in his mind. I can't Google it. I don't know the name.
Listen out there, Google that.
I don't know the name.
That's a very broad story.
I don't know the name.
There we go. What about the country of origin?
America.
Oh,
America.
we're in America. An American prison.
And I don't know if I'm imagining this. But the way the story goes...
Sounds cool, though.
The way the story goes up here...
Right.
This bloke was in prison...
Shawshank Redemption. Is this Shawshank Redemption? It's the fucking exact storyline.
No, it's not.
5-star movie.
It's not. So his name was Andy Dufresne.
He had a mate who was an African-American. Soothing voice.
His name was Andy Dufresne and his best friend was Morgan Freeman.
I swear it was a real story. I was like, you watched Shawshank Redemption last week.
When I laugh really hard, I choke on my throat. I've never been able to laugh. Like when I cackle for some reason, ever since I was a kid,
deep gurgle.
It gets stuck here and it's like...
But to round off that interesting travel beats, I will just say that one of the best ones that I got was from living in Canada. My sister and I, when we first got there, stayed in a little place, a little stop house before we found our place of residence. The first time that's a nice one too.
Oh,
there you
what
go.
the fuck?
Yeah, he likes his Zythos.
Shout out to fucking Zytho.
Brewing,
That one was good for me. Like
yeah.
that
IPA because it's stronger. I like it, but that's more flavoursome.
That's like, to me, I would equivalent, and I fuck it. This is a really big compliment. That to me is as easy to drink as a Shifty Lizard.
Oh, the Shifty Lizard. That's what I was saying before.
Shout out to Shifty Lizard.
Shout out to Shifty Lizard. You've had on the podcast before, and I text them because I love them when I can find their beers in the stores around here without having to go direct to the brewery. Their IPA is fantastic. The green can, my fave. It's one of my faves. But I get onto these because the constant changeover at the local establishment where we go buy the alcohol, and obviously they change the product line that they have in there. Found the Zythos and delicious.
I've never had a bottle-o.
You never had? Well, you go to the one that's close to you, right? If they've got a good enough selection.
I had a bottle-o once because I always used to just go to Dan's.
Yeah, well, Dan's have a...
They're not a bottle-o.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Dan's selection of craft beers, you can go to a BWS that has a better selection.
You want to talk craft beers? Have you been to Golfview Road? O'Sully's IGA? Like that shopping mall? The Sip and Save there?
No.
You've never been there?
Sorry. That's good. Good for the listeners.
I'm sorry.
Take that one. That's a deep burp.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry about that, guys.
But the Sip and Save...
What, they got a good selection or a poor selection?
The best.
Oh, the best. So
Like-
I love it. I love the local one that stocks all the good craft beers.
It's privately owned, but the other bloke, I think, owns... It's another really good craft beer spot, like more down the hill.
Yeah.
And so you go there, and I remember my mate Pavy's like, "Oh, have you never been there?" And I was like, "No," and he's like, "Dude,
It's great.
it's the business."
Nice.
So I went in there, and they got fucking
So
they got a wall.
Sully's Road.
They got a wall
IGA.
half of the shed's length.
Yeah.
They got a wall of crafts.
Yeah. The only one I can think of like that is the big. It's a bigger one, so obviously not as.
It's a small shop.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a small shop.
Not as inconspicuous, but good to then hold the local craft beers. But the best one that comes to mind for that would be, what is it? Is it the Highway? The Highway Thirsty Camel?
Yeah, I think he owns the Highway.
The Highway Thirsty
I think
Camel
it's the same
have
owner.
a wicked, massive, like
I think it's the same owner as the
double
Highway.
fridge style. You can
Yeah.
get all the.
That's what they have. They have like a massive fridge and then another fridge.
They're the ones that actually have a lot of the locals because there is. I
think he owns the
because you were
Highway.
saying Shifty Lizards over there, Shapeshifter,
Yeah.
but obviously they're all a little more expensive because they're getting in the local breweries. So sometimes you talk.
There's that Kickback Brewery now too. I haven't been there
Yeah,
yet, though.
that's why there's some real good local breweries coming up,
There's
and
a one in
you need to be able to
Lonsdale.
find places to sell them that
Have
you
you
actually know
seen the
about.
one in Lonsdale?
No.
Yeah, there's a big one. Fuck you though, because you didn't reply to my email.
Ah.
But
No names on that one.
they're gonna be in Lonsdale. It's gonna be like a Cooper's Ale House type deal.
Well, I'm the sucker that, took someone that drinks enough alcohol, they get their one kind of beer and they want to buy it. Cartons are cheaper, you do it all that. Whereas I'm the sucker where I'll buy them 6-pack at a time or 4-packs at a time, but I'll get 2 different varieties and pay, $40 to $60 for 8 to 12 beers.
Yeah, I'll pay.
So obviously you pay a little more, but you're getting, depends on what you want out of it. Being people that drink, do you want because you want to get drunk with the alcohol content? You want to enjoy the beverage for the fruity tones that it can come with, which obviously is people that like certain kinds of beer, they want none. They want the basic 4s, your Marley, your malt, your Marley
and Bolt.
You're definitely your Marley and Bolt.
Your Marley and Bolt.
Yeah. So it just depends on what you're after, but like you said, craft brewing, getting as big as what it is, support them when they're getting out there because there's some delicious beers out there.
Yeah, it also pisses me off though because they always got the Sistine Chapel on their can and then it's a shit beer.
Well, it becomes, but how do they sell? That's the idea of marketing, right? How do you sell to get to the middle shelf? And if you don't know how good it tastes, you're not doing it by your flavor.
If I see
have to
one
get it
more
by your
can with Biggie Smalls in it, I'm going to lose my shit.
Oh, that's that juicy. Yeah,
I'm sick of that shit.
that juicy
I'm sick of, do you know what else I'm sick of? Burger bars doing it.
Burger. Oh, well,
You know,
actual hamburger places.
No, fucking burger bars. All these American burger joints. They just put pictures of like rappers on the wall for no fucking reason.
We got one at the local. That's got Eminem and Biggie Smalls.
That was one of the first. Winters.
Yeah.
Winters. That was
Winters
one of the
Burgers.
first.
Yeah.
Because that was one of the. That was the OG American style burger shop down south. Yeah.
Wow. Well, Winters Burgers. I know the bloke that owns it. I went to school.
Yeah. He's the OG down south.
Yeah. Well, he was. Yeah. He opened. Yeah, for that style.
For that style,
that's
what I'm
of burger.
saying.
Yeah, he was the first one into the south.
But then that style went massive, and now every second fucking shop's a American burger shop.
Yeah, it's gotten bigger on all that.
There's fucking like six. There's fucking 3 Yankees from Morphevale to Seaford.
The Benny's.
Yankees burgers.
There's a Yankees burgers now because Benny's was the American style burger place.
Yeah, there's 2 of them now.
Few in Morphevale. There's one down.
They're
Glenelg.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Yankees went from having no shops down here to like 2 or 3.
Yeah. Well,
which is fucking crazy. Like we're
trying to hit the market, mate.
Yeah.
They've trying to.
But now there's too much.
Well, it's like that with everything. They say the craft beer market's saturated, podcasting market's saturated. Because look, everything's
podcast way saturated. That's why this shit's not going to happen. That's all right. We're branching out.
We just keep going along.
We're branching out. I've got a series coming.
He's got something in the works. Oh, Sav's got it in the works.
Do you want to know? I'm
hang
filming
on.
tomorrow.
You're filming it tomorrow
with guess who?
Who?
Luke Helps.
Is he? Oh, Helpsy.
Yeah, Helpsy's coming.
Oh well, a good, very good sports photographer making his way down here in the
I
south.
was like, let's fuck around. Let's do some fucking around, and so we made an OnlyFans, and we're gonna just go at it.
And do what?
Sex.
No.
No.
Oh, Helps, you should be so lucky. Did Sav seduce you with his...
No.
How did that go down?
Did you see...
Do you have
Instagram? You have Instagram.
Yeah.
Did you see my story yesterday how I was asking people for their favourite pie?
Yeah, I sent you one.
Yeah. So we were talking about it today.
Yes. Yeah. It's going to be to do with that. So yeah, it's a little serious.
I'm waking up at 5 a.m. and I'm going to find South Australia's best pie.
Oh, yes. So here we go. We go.
Yeah.
So how many are you thinking? How many
I'm going to
bakeries are you
hit
thinking
4 spots.
4 spots. Have you got the spots laid out already?
Yes.
Yep.
I'll tell you off camera.
All right, off camera. Exciting.
All I will say, though...
Content on the way.
I will say 2 things.
2 things.
The first Villies is going to be cafe. The first shop's going to be Cafe de Villies.
Right. On there on South Road.
Only out of respect.
Of course, it's the largest and one of the most well known in Adelaide.
Out of respect. Yeah. That's my base level pie.
Right.
So that's not good. It's not bad.
Right. Super commercial.
But it's consistent.
Oh yeah.
Like it's always shit, but it's satisfying.
Yeah.
And I don't like meat pies. I'm going.
Why are you doing it then?
No. I'm going for signature pies.
Oh, okay.
It can be a meat pie.
Yeah.
Or it can be a jalapeno popper pie.
Right. It can be a pie, but you're not going pasties or sausage rolls or Kranskis.
No, that's different.
Right. And then sweets are different as well, obviously.
Yeah, you can't go on sweets
because also bakeries, when you were saying best pie, obviously you think pies, you do your style of pie.
Wait.
But when it comes to them best bakeries, that would be a different thing because what could be the selection in terms of they don't make the best natural pie,
I'll show you
pies, but then you're talking they have the best sweet selection, they make the best coffees.
I'm not trying to find South Australia's best bakery.
Yeah, you're trying to find the best pie. Got you.
But I won't tell you where these are from. I'll show the camera. I'll show you though.
Okay.
So these are the kind of pies I'm looking for.
Right.
So this is a standard pie.
Yep.
That is a cheeseburger pie.
Okay. Yep.
That is the most delicious thing you've ever fucking seen.
So cheesy.
And I'm going to be eating that. Have a look at that pastry, son.
That is...
Look at that pastry, son.
The pastry's pretty crisp.
Look at that pastry, son.
Look at the cheese.
That's a jalapeno popper pie, motherfucker.
Okay.
That's what I'm looking for.
That would make me shit for a
I
week.
want supreme pastry. I don't want it to be a soggy bottom pastry. I don't want it to be that.
A big thing with the pie is half the filling, half the pastry.
My ratings are going to be harsh. It's going to be out of 10.
He's got his own Dewey Decimal
It's
system.
going to be... Have you ever seen Barstool Sports, Dave Portnoy's pizza reviews?
I haven't watched it, but I know of them, yeah.
He rates them out of 10, but he does it very... Like, if you get an 8, that's fucking... Solid. Good.
Right, because he's very stingy. He'd be
but it's good. 8's good.
Yeah, well, because you realise you're comparing it to the world, and it's...
8 you could eat there once a week.
Yeah.
That's an 8.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you got to be really. You can't just give something a fucking 10.
It's true.
I see all these
Nobody
people.
wants to hear it all the time. If you're going to go out and try,
I see all
and
these
that's the
people
whole issue,
on TikTok and fucking Instagram and shit. These people
Raving about
that don't understand food.
Yeah.
They'll make a video and it'll go viral, and they'll fucking give something stupid a 9 out of 10.
Yeah.
A 9 out of 10 is some of the best food you've ever eaten.
Do you not think that they would do that because they want to get acknowledged and maybe get in partnership with? They're looking at the long game of being a content creator and what I do for you, you do for
fuck
me.
them.
Well, that becomes the issue because Sav's going to shoot from the hip. He's going to be goo from the Wild West. If you got a shit pie, he's going to tell you you've got a shit pie. Jalapeno poppers, Mexican mince, beef pies, whatever. He don't give two shits. He'll tell you what is what.
That was a good promo.
Thank you.
You'd be a you've watched too much fucking wrestling.
Wrestling and Bruce Buffer.
Bruce.
It's time, mate. I get quoted. People want to pull out their cameras when I start getting into my Bruce Buffer mode. I just love it.
Oh, it has this. My cousin the other day, we were at the shop and he's like, I was watching the UFC on Sunday. It was Sunday. And he was announcing Gaethje and Poirier. Mm-hmm. And you know when Bruce gets in his main event mode.
Oh yeah.
He's fucking good with it, bro.
Yeah,
and he was just carrying on, and if you're not used to the UFC, it can probably seem very stupid.
I can see that.
If you don't watch fighting, you don't understand the ramifications of what's about to happen. You don't understand that Justin Gaethje's about to walk out, and then Dustin Poirier's about to walk out, and they're going to try and kill each other.
Savage fight.
So Andrew's like, that's fucking stupid. And I was like, if you knew how much he got paid per show and how much he's worth and how much he makes just doing that.
The idea of the best hype man ever.
The best.
Yeah.
And he's like, do you know who he sounds like though? Michael Buffer.
Of course he does.
And I was like,
Half
he didn't
brothers.
know that was
a half brother.
He didn't
Did you
know.
then launch into
He
the whole
didn't even
story?
know his name. He didn't know his name. But I was like,
Didn't go funnily enough.
I was like, well, that's his brother, and he's better.
Yeah.
He's way better.
Michael Buffer.
He's way better.
Bruce Buffer's better than Michael Buffer?
100.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
But
Michael Buffer,
he fists the fight. He gives him knuckles, bro.
Does the head-to-head.
Does
There's a few
the Bruce
fighters.
Buffer 180 when he jumps and he fucking just gets
Well,
you.
he's done only 360 and blew his knee out for the UFC 100.
Yeah, that's how hard that man works.
He worked real hard.
He went through a phase where he was doing fight nights and he was on every show.
Every show. Now they've got 3 because they've got Contender Series, they've got Tough, and they've got a guy for that. They've got the other guy that speaks Spanish fluently, and God, he's great to listen to.
Who's the guy that speaks? I know the bold one that you're talking about.
Yeah.
Who's the guy that does Portuguese? The white guy.
Yeah,
you know him?
Yeah, he translates for all the Spanish,
He's
Portuguese.
so good.
So good, right?
Isn't he the best?
Well, yeah, the best.
He is.
Because they've gone through a few iterations for the Brazilians and the
he's
Portuguese.
The best.
Because
he's
they
good.
say he's the best because he really
captures emotion.
He captures the emotion of actually what the fighters say.
Because
how well does he actually then know him to be able? Is it him or is it just knowing the people better to get the translation on point?
I think he's just so good at. Because translating from, even if you know both languages, one's your second language.
Yeah. You got to think in multiple languages so you're hearing.
So he's obviously just a master at both. But
because he does it for not just Portuguese, Spanish, Italian. He's doing it for all of them.
I think the art of a translator would also be when they're going rambling for a minute, you're not remembering every word. Mm-hmm. You're remembering the story.
Key points,
you know, and you're reiterating it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So he reiterates things very well.
Oh, he's great.
He does a very good job.
Oh, you wouldn't think that's such an important job.
You get like a bloke from Kurdamadjalabalistan.
Right. Turkmenistan, let's say.
And he's
Azerbaijan.
And 97 people speak that language and they get an interpreter in and they go to the corner and it's frantic as and he's like, keep punching your head. Punch. Nah,
they're not the worst. No, they're not the worst. Actually, they have decent because the former Soviet Union countries, they've got a few that, you know, the worst ones are the Koreans and the Japanese. Literally the translators, that's exactly what they go. Left punch to face. You need to punch harder. You're like,
heart of land.
No, I feel listening for fights for when they're trying to translate.
These are such niche things.
And then even the post fight, because you notice big time with the post fight interviews, the in octagon interviews. They're the noticeable ones because sometimes you can tell if it's a Korean fighter. I don't even think they're employed by the UFC. They're employed by someone like in their team.
Yeah.
And so that's who's translating, a sister even.
Yeah.
And so you're getting
it's so funny.
It does add a humorous bent to what is blokes beating the shit out of each other in a steel cage.
A video came up the other day, and shout out to John Anik, because he's the reason this podcast is here.
Big fan, yes.
So
if you don't know the backstory of how the Sesh with Sav was inspired by John Anik.
I love John Anik. Love him.
Well, how excited were you when he followed you on social media, Sav?
Yasmin would have thought I just hit the lottery. I'm not exaggerating.
She was hoping.
I fucking squealed. I screenshotted it and I sent it to fucking every single person that I knew would know what was that.
The old Kodak, send it out.
Bro, the first person I messaged was my mate Dale Pavey, because he's a diehard. And I was like, John Anik just messaged me back and followed me on Twitter. I was like, there's no way.
There's nothing that beats this.
And I just asked him a question. I was like, how did you get into commentary? Because originally with this podcast, I want to take it into a more MMA driven. I love MMA, so I was going to take it into an MMA kind of avenue and be more of an MMA comment, like online commentator,
instead of much more of the social commentary.
But yeah, I was thinking of doing that, and I messaged him. I was like, how did you get into commentary? Because I really want to do commentary. I still want to do commentary.
And you respect the man, because anyone that's watched UFC fights and knows what it takes to actually run that kind of ship.
I still really want to do the commentary.
Yeah.
But I want to be a color commentator. I don't want to be an analyst. I want to be...
That's what he's saying. We got this wrong last time, and it's caught up with me, because color commentary is the guys that have done it. That's your Cormiers, your Bisbings. That's color.
So what's John Anik?
John Anik is a play-by-play. Because play-by-play is the step-by-step to fill in the details in between the color. The color is filling in the detail of what the play-by-play does, which is following the script of the story.
And then the analyst is separate to the color?
And the analyst is separate from the color. Yeah,
the analyst is the...
they're the guys that are at the top table. Yeah, your Doms and your Kieses and your ones. Because even color, though, color is your Rogan and your Cormier. They're color commentary.
Yeah. See,
they're filling in the color for what John Anik is playing out of the basics of this guy weighs this guy does this guy comes from this camp, this guy does this. You would be laying out as a play-by-play. But also, you have to be seamless to fill in the details of what the color is filling in to make it flow.
Yeah, I'd love to be a play-by-play, and I'd like to have a crack at color commentary as well. Yeah. Because I think I don't know. It's
a dance. It's a dance. Well, much like this, mate.
It's stressful.
Well, of course, it's stressful because
you want to give respect to all the fighters. Of course, yeah. That's more the thing.
Well, John Anik's
great. I would hate to let anyone down.
On
the commentary side of things.
Well, he knows that because Anik is also really well known for. There's a little compilation of him with his personal stories that he gets into.
That's what got me onto this. I was browsing TikTok the other day and.
There's some great ones. Divorce and kids getting lost and prison sentences. What the fuck?
Have you seen the one where he's on he's on the desk for ESPN and he's like, oh, I'd love to talk, but I can't get my fucking producer out my fucking ear.
I did see that. Oh.
But he's so professional because when he's on, he's fucking on.
Yeah.
Like he is on.
Yeah.
And I used to love watching the podcast when they'd have technical difficulties.
Oh, he'd just lose it in the moment.
Lose it.
He loses it, but just so genuine.
But yeah,
somehow keep to it.
I messaged him saying, blah, blah, how'd you start? And he goes, oh, this, and that. And I was like, oh, I love you, blah, 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 you're a legend. And he was like, yeah, you gotta, if my advice to you is just fucking do it, bro. And then
go with it.
And then I told him that one day he'll be a guest on my podcast. Yeah. One day, when he comes to Australia, he will be a guest on my podcast. I will smash a beer with John Anik.
There you go. You'd love to do it in person, or would you be willing to have to stream it,
and
mate?
I told him that, and he followed me, but then I called someone a cunt on Twitter and got banned. And I lost my...
Lost it to the X, formerly known as Twitter.
But then I... did the podcast one night. I was just like, fuck it. I made the page and 100 people liked it. So I was like, now I can't not do it.
Yep.
And
The birthing of the Sesh with Sav.
And then I was like, I went on Twitter and I fucking tagged him again in my first video.
Yep.
And he was like, oh, that's sick. And he fucking followed me again. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Double follow from John Anik.
But now I don't use Twitter.
Yeah, well.
It's X now, yeah.
Do
you know what's funny about that's what I was saying about Moist Critical before.
Okay.
You know
here
Charlie?
we go. Yeah, got callback. The whole standstill for that podcast.
He made a good point. He said, boys out there,
to the
so
lads.
now when you used to post a video, that was a tweet. You were tweeting a video. Mm-hmm. Now it's X videos.
Yeah, Xing a video, and that sounds like you're going to a porn website.
Sounds like Thomas.
I wouldn't know anything. What? What do you mean? I don't understand any of this.
Bro, that sounds like a porn site.
Are you speaking in tongues?
That's the biggest porn site in the world.
I have no idea what you're talking about, sir. I plead the fifth on
The X videos. The X videos. So now when you tweet a video, though, it's an X video.
Yeah, you can't
It's
say
a very
it's
weird thing.
The other one I saw, if we were talking about little conspiratorial route, is the Masonic symbol, the X, apparently is the bottom.
He's just got autism. That's all it is.
I know. I get it where it's just like, I think he likes the trickery.
autistic.
He likes the trickery of it.
He's a genius and he's autistic.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah,
he has an affinity with the letter X. That's a very autistic trait.
And then people are trying to call him out being,
weird.
you're finally making it as a content creator. It's like, what, he bought the company so he could be a content creator on his own platform that was like the biggest platform ever.
Yeah, fuck. I don't understand,
Everyone's going to remarket and rebrand everything, mate, to make it their own.
Because the aliens are here.
The aliens, we apparently have been back in engineering technology, mate, even before Roswell, apparently.
So, one thing, so when that all happened, I was like, this is my chance. Because if there's one thing that I go deep in on conspiracies,
it's UFOs.
It's aliens. Like, that's the one I'm like, I hope I see that before I die.
Yeah.
That's the one.
The biggest conspiracy, more than, assassinations, murders.
At this point, is it a conspiracy?
What ifs?
But I get so
what exists and what doesn't. What is true reality and what isn't? What are the stories that we tell?
I want it to be real. I want to see that before I die.
Right.
I really want to see one or just something. And
isn't the idea of seeing an alien like an equivalent on some level of like thinking of seeing God?
Not an alien, just knowing they're there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I just want to know. I want it to be 100%. I want them on a podcast. Do you know what I mean? On Joe
How
Rogan.
are you going to get him on Joe Rogan if they're an alien? He's not going to be able to speak English or communicate with us.
How do you know?
You reckon they'll be able to understand our technology and just get a voice synthesizer to speak their mind?
I go to time travelers.
Yeah.
They come and just see some shit and then they fucking
just zip right on in.
That's what I give it to.
Tic-tac right on in and
do you know what aliens are? They're probably just really
interdimensional travelers,
rich white people from the future. Isn't that
a South Park episode?
Is it?
I think it is, where they time travel and they just come back and they're like, oh shit, and then they start making their way back through.
Really?
Oh, is it that or is it? No, they've
Sounds
definitely had people
like
that, and they just find out it's like, oh, we can teleport back in. It's way better here than where we come from.
Sounds like a good episode.
Yeah, I think it was there.
No shit.
South Park, man, they've got some good. They've had some abs. Mate, social commentators in a cartoon form. Some of the best social commentary that we can get in terms of saying the taboo, what they can get away with. Of course, it comes through cartoons. South Park, Family Guy, American Dad. The latest ones on Netflix, they do it in all cartoons where it's podcasting with all like Duncan Trussell's where he did that. Because it's almost what they can get away with saying when they do it in a cartoon form is so much more than if you just try and get live action people to say it and try and get regular actors.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think... Oh, did you used to watch Rick and Morty?
Yeah. That's another one, Rick and Morty.
So are they gonna voice AI Rick and Morty now, or what's the go with that?
I actually don't know.
Because Homeboy got done being a weirdo or something.
Why did I just think of being done being a weirdo, and then I just thought of Pee Wee Herman died the other day because he got caught.
He did.
He died the other day, and then everyone brought up was like, well, what he was known for, which is sad because he's known as Pee Wee Herman, but the thing that kept him down and left acting was he didn't fiddle. No, he fiddled himself.
What do you mean at people?
He fiddled himself in a cinema.
Oh, no, that's not bad.
Yeah.
Oh, like a porn cinema? Or like don't they do that there?
But yeah, you'd think, but that's what did him in. That's what got him kicked out of Hollywood is Pee Wee Herman because
Wanking in a fucking porn facility.
Wanking in a cinema.
Why else would you go to a porn facility?
One of the older ones before the
What
internet.
do you watch it for the story?
That's what we're saying, mate.
Wow.
That's what did him in.
No shit.
That's what then he was so embarrassed by it, and then he's died of cancer and didn't tell anyone. And
Fuck, George Michael like jacked off in front of dudes in public toilets, and he still died famous.
Anthony Hutchins should put a fucking leather belt around his neck
Yeah,
and
he
was beating
did.
himself off
He
when
did.
he went away. He was really
He
trying to
did.
touch that nether realm.
He fucking did.
You got to think that some people they really go to the nth degree.
Yeah, so fucking when the aliens came, I'm that into aliens.
Yep.
When it all happened, I walked into my
There's
mum's.
so many ways that aliens could introduce themselves. Like, what are they? Are they humanoid little things? Are
I
they
walk-
things that are coming in spaceships? Are they already?
I
Like,
walked
what?
to mum. I was like, Mum, there's fucking aliens.
Aliens are coming.
And she was like, and I was like, no. I was like, it's real.
Yeah, it's coming.
And she's like, now what? COVID again?
And now that's what people say. That's what they were saying. I was reading some articles.
Now what?
coming
We
in
get locked down?
about all the UAPs and David Grush and all this that's going on in the States in the hearings. He's getting a political platform essentially. He's under oath.
Commander Fravor and
Commander Fravor and Ryan Graves
have
have they're all testified.
What's with the dude wearing the bandana?
Dude, there's a bunch of weirdos that have all tied on because they're all from the UFO
that makes
community.
it look less legit.
That's what people notice. Who's that guy carrying the crystal
As
ball in
soon
the
as
background?
and he was asking good questions, and then when I seen him, I was like, maybe he's just like one of those outlandish Texan politicians or something.
That's what you ask questions like, what is your history? You're like, oh, he wrote a book 25 years ago about UFO sightings and all this stuff. So everyone wants to believe it.
He worked with Bob Lazar. How weird though, but everything Bob Lazar has said
Is coming
into fruition.
Same thing with like Stephen
the
Greer,
shape
all
of
those
them,
guys.
shape of them, how they maneuver.
Have we heard more about this the Element 115 or whatever the hell?
Oh, it's a
called?
legit element. Like they can find it. For those who haven't heard the Bob Lazar story, it's very divisive between like the UFO kind of community.
Enthusiasts.
I would bet things that other people would be uncomfortable betting that he is not lying.
That Bob Lazar's not lying.
That Bob Lazar's not lying.
Here's my issue with all this, and what I'm interested and curious about is humans are storytelling animals. We like to tell ourselves, and we can delude ourselves. Our brain actually evolved to just kind of fit in with it. So the story we tell ourselves, we may believe it wholeheartedly because we believe it's what we saw. But if something's inexplicable for whatever reason to you, you've then added to it post hoc. You've added to it after the fact. And then, your memory can be compromised because of that, so you remember a different way. Which is my only... There's someone that's trying
What about human intuition?
That's the thing. Human intuition.
Other animals
could
don't
all be
have-
false.
I don't know.
Human intuition could all be a fraud.
No.
Dude, I've just finished transcribing a book I read.
How do you explain this then? How do you explain this? If intuition's fake.
Right.
When someone's
Fake, but what do you mean by fake? It's not fake, it happens.
when someone's looking at you from behind and you know they're looking at you.
You can feel it. Yeah.
What's that shit?
They try and study it, but there's nothing proven about it.
Is that intuition or is that like
That would be more of a predatory prey instinct.
That was
still built into our instincts.
I'm gonna watch this back and be like, fuck, that is the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
That would be an instinct, mate. That would be an instinct from our heritage. Yeah, that would be an instinct, like a prick up on the back to know
something's on your back.
Okay, so the easiest explanation for this, for an evolutionary purpose, is why is
Scared of the dark.
We're scared of the dark, scared of snakes.
Go get it, get it, Tom.
scared-
Drop that Joe Rogan knowledge.
Here we go. Here's my bro science. Scared of what's the rustling in the bushes, right? The evolutionary thought is why are we so attuned to scared thinking instead of just like, nah, it's nothing. We always fall to like what we're afraid of. And so, because if you think about in your evolutionary past, when you're out in the savannah and there's rustling in the feathers and you go, nah, it's fine, you get eaten by the lion. Whereas the savvy ones that then got to procreate because they made more strategic decisions would say, most likely it's not a lion. But just in the case it is, I'm going to get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, so that's why you'd be alive and I'd be
So
dude.
they say over the evolutionary timescales of what it takes to go from species to species, that to procreate, and which is apparently the whole main purpose of a biological organism, is to procreate, put your genes on into the next organism. And then what goes
Or-
on after that is things evolve and change, and ways that we actually have behaviors are evolved behaviors because of the species that we actually are. And that ties in deeply with what makes us distinct and unique from the rest of the animal kingdom, which is our giant brains, which gets into another complicated reason, is why did certain things in our brain evolve? And one of the dark things about it is the ideas of Machiavellianism, personifying
You're really
yourself.
into Machiavellianism.
I
right
do.
now.
Well, I'm interested in how people deceive others and why. Why do people lie? Why are they con artists? Why are people?
I was just gonna say, what if all of that's bullshit and the aliens came down and were like, no,
They put it all in us, mate. Oh, they just zapped us.
Because that's a thing too. That's a thing too, bro. That's a thing. I'm not saying now. I don't go that deep. All right, I'm just going to clarify that I don't go that deep to the point that if people don't know,
Now
there's a conspiracy theory that aliens aided to human evolution.
Yes, that is what I say. The inkling of that would be the Sakurai-Sitchins and the Anunnaki and all that.
The Anunnaki.
Yeah, the Anunnaki. That's where it comes from.
Did they help build the pyramids too?
Oh, apparently it was...
Because apparently they helped
They
build
may
the
have been the
pyramids.
gods from the sky, which all the episodes of polytheistic religions back...
Did you ever watch Ancient Aliens?
Of course I did, yes.
Were you...
Sukalos. Yeah, his
How,
old mate
bro?
Sukalos. He was great. Listened to him on Rogan a few times. I got my sister, the only episode she would listen to, we were driving out into the Nevada desert, and she goes, "This is the only Rogan episode I'll listen with you." And it was with him, and they were talking about dragons and ancient civilizations, because we were driving 3 hours into the desert to essentially go look at stars in the middle of the desert. So she's like, "This is the only time I'll listen about aliens and conspiracies, about have we been visited and all the evidence for..."
Oh, well, that's where that meme
all that
comes
fun
from.
stuff.
For anyone who doesn't know Ancient Aliens, I 1,000,000% know you know the meme of that guy going like this: aliens.
Now, I'm not saying that it was aliens.
I'm not saying it was aliens.
Because
but
everything was always not saying it was aliens, but that was the preface
that was the fucking memes.
Dude, it was great.
But-
Because how many did they go through? The issue is they ran out of content, because there's legit... They had... The first season, you're talking, they were going to ancient sites.
Have you seen Action Bronson's Ancient Aliens?
No.
That is one of the most classic watches of all time.
Action Bronson's Ancient Aliens.
Because him and his boys sit in a green room. Like, imagine this shed, but it's got a mad couch, and they have mad snacks, professional chef snacks, and like dope takeaway.
All we got is beers that I was
And
hoping could bring.
the whole room's a green screen. So Ancient Aliens is playing in the background of them, and they're fucking sinking like ounces of fucking weed.
yeah, because Action Bronson could smoke like an absolute train.
They are smoking so much.
And then just going deep.
And then it's like
Talking
them
absolute
watching, but
nonsense.
you can see them brain farting and shit. You
Yeah.
can see them like,
Oh, they just yeah.
and then like just getting lost in it.
Yeah.
And
That becomes the issue. Look, Sav, I love talking to you, mate, but sometimes I can't launch off too far because I'm going to lose the thread that I go down,
Bro,
and
I
I
forgot-
can't look at your eyes because
I've
then you're
forgotten.
like, oh boy, you're talking about some shit.
I've forgotten what we are talking about like 7 times.
Oh, that's all right, mate. It's bound to be expected on a Friday evening out here. And I'm in pain. I'm on all the paracetamol and anti-inflammatories right now for my back. So mix that with a few beers, and
Yeah.
we might just be going down some rabbit holes.
Yeah.
But believing and going, that all started because I was saying I just finished Intuition. Is intuition fake? This idea that your brain comprehends reality, like we can't prove that that's actually what it does. All it can do is we can prove that it helps us survive in the world. We got a brain like this because it helps us survive.
Yeah, that's the thing.
That's the base level build up. And so when they start saying your intuition's wrong, we can't prove this, we can't prove that, to get into another thing you were talking about with Goobsy, that movie Oppenheimer. Instead of going to see the movie, which I am going to go see,
I'm not going to go see it.
I'm reading a book about him, mate. I have a 600-page autobiography by Ray Monk, who writes. He's written three biographies, and essentially, I don't think he's written anything else. But he's a super famous author. Now, I would want to ask you. You will probably never have heard of these names, but he's written 3 books about 3 people.
Wait. Why would you say I never heard of those?
Here we go. So here we go. You'll find out. Because I would say they're known as 3 of the quintessential geniuses of the 20th century. But they're secluded in their isolated realms of academia.
Yeah.
So would you have any idea about who those 3 people would be that he wrote like over 600 to 800 page biographies of their life.
Reiterate that to me, please. I've got to focus on that because
Okay.
you gave me a lot.
I gave you a lot. So Ray Monk, he's an author.
Yes.
And I knew about him because of one of the books that he wrote. And then I found out he wrote some others. He wrote some other books. And I think that's all he's kind of done. He's essentially a social commentator. I think he's a pommy guy. And he wrote 3 gigantic tome books, widely regarded as some of the best biographies that have ever been written. Some of the most in-depth. This would be in science philosophy.
Yeah. And what the year?
This would be, they would have come out in
a year period.
You're talking late 90s.
Okay.
They would have been written in the 80s into the 90s.
And he wrote 3 books. Yeah.
One book was split into 2, but I bought it as one, and it's just gigantic. And then the other 2, so there's just 3 biographies about 3 gigantic minds of the 20th century. And I would wonder, as I say the names, if you or the people listening, if they'd heard of these names, considering how big they were considered at the time. And they've been, let me just say that most of them have been dead for 30 to 40 years.
Before you say them, write in the comments who you think they are.
There you go.
And
Please.
I'm going to leave this on a cliffhanger in the clip.
Okay, good.
And we'll see how good you are. And I'll post the answer the following day.
Oh, this will be good then. Yeah, I'm
but
curious.
you can just look on the internet.
You can always.
So I'll pin the correct answers.
Okay, beautiful.
Continue.
Okay, so in saying that, science and
I'll
philosophy.
say if I know them truly.
Okay.
Yeah, or I've heard of them. Because I guarantee I'm not going to name them.
Well, I just gave you one because I was telling you about what it was. We were talking about the movie.
Oppenheimer.
Yeah. So I'm reading the one about him. It's called Inside the Center. And it was him working in the center of Los Alamos, but also the title was an admission to...
Was he in Los Alamos?
Oppenheimer created... He was the central figure in creating the bomb.
No, but the bomb was created in Los Alamos.
Yes, in Los Alamos.
I don't know that. I don't know the history. I don't know the history of the bomb.
This is what got me interested because obviously science history. Science history is
and funnily
curious
enough, I went to Hiroshima.
Oh, I did hear that you went to the museum.
Yes.
That would have been super confronting.
I'm not laughing. I'm laughing.
You were saying about the guy that collapsed and smacked his head?
I'm laughing because of that, and it was really bad timing. Oh my God. I'm not like, bro. It was actually very unsettling for me. I didn't think, my missus was like, oh, you're not going to look, because I'm not going to pretend like I'm the most culturally sensitive person. Yeah. And
not the most sentimental.
Whenever
you're a genuine soul.
when I travel, I don't travel for sights or history. Yeah. I mostly travel for food. Yeah. Because I love food. Yeah. And that leads to history. Yeah. Like you can find out a lot about a country based on its food habits and its food history.
Yeah, why? Going to its pubs, where do all the gadflies?
That's not even its pubs. Like where does Wagyu beef come from? I want to go to the farms.
Yep.
Like things like that. And then you learn it's a different kind of culture. Yeah. Anyway, we went there and it was very eerie. Where the bomb landed, because it landed above ground, the building is still intact. Because it was directly below it, it blew up everything around the building. Yeah. Yeah. So, but the building's fucked, but it's still there. That's the only building that's still there.
I heard.
We're in the museum, and it's a very tense place. Like my missus was crying before we even went in. Yeah. It's a very heavy feeling. It's a very heavy feeling. Yeah. And a lot of people it's obviously very quiet, but then you get fucking Americans like me. Yeah. Like,
now, how would the Americans feel if Japanese went to the site of the World Trade Centers and started just absolutely just going
yapping,
as you would say,
yapping,
me.
Yeah, yapping. Yeah. And I was like, fucking hell. But anyway,
make it tense thing and make it hard.
There's this section where it shows I think it was all of the children's clothes.
Oh Jesus!
So they've salvaged the clothes of these children, and it's all melted and it's fucked. Yeah. But anyway, and then I'm like kind of just looking around, and this bloke jumps in the air, like jumps, and he like goes sideways. This bloke, when I say bloke, I'm talking like 16-year-old kid. Okay. This boy. Yeah. And he jumps. Oh, why is he jumping? And then he kind of planks to the side. and he doesn't catch his fall, and the
He just
floor
falls?
and the fall is really hard, like this. I'm not exaggerating. The noise was like this because it's dead silent, and it's a massive building.
Yeah.
It was,
He thumped.
and Yaz was like, and I
thumped into
I
the
was
ground.
like, did anyone just say
He
that?
just jumped and
I don't know
pancaked.
why. I put it down to a seizure or
Yeah.
something, or
Why
I
would he
don't
jump?
Because apparently a lot of people have an overwhelming. I don't know if he had a condition or not. I don't know what happened.
Right.
But apparently
enough to
people
cause
get overwhelmed. But I thought he had a seizure,
Yeah.
and because I'd seen him and he jumped and he hit his head so hard, I was like, I thought it sounded like a little bomb went off, bro. It was crazy, and I was like, what the fuck? And then everyone.
Just moved around like it was nothing. Or?
Everyone was like, and then 10 seconds later, everyone's like,
Just kept going.
just
kept going. Would this be the same thing if it happened in
I
like
was
a
like,
museum?
can't I
but it's
just go? Can't
way
I
more
just
tense.
go to a fucking place without something weird?
No, you can't, Sav. No,
But
no, you cannot.
it was a very heavy vibe.
An eerie place. Okay, so that was because
But that was number one.
yeah.
So number two.
So that was Oppenheimer, and that was he essentially the story is he was the lead on the project to create the atomic bomb that did get dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Okay, so the first one, or the one that I found out, the book's called The Duty of Genius. The Duty of Genius. What it means?
Duty.
The duty.
Yeah.
Right. What is your duty as a genius to society when you know you've got the smarts, and then will people listen? Who do you think that was written by, mate? Or who do you think he wrote that book about?
I would not have a clue.
Okay, so
I might know of them.
No, I'm not even sure the name. Have you heard of the name Ludwig Wittgenstein?
No, not even a little.
Okay, so he was essentially known as the greatest philosopher of the 20th century. He essentially broke down everything in philosophy to a language game. He goes, philosophy's all bullshit. It's a language game. If you can use the correct language, you can argue your point on anything, which essentially was a quintessential argument for Socrates hating the sophists back in ancient Greece, which was the foundation of Western philosophy. It's not been changed ever since until he come along and went, it's just a language game. You can just pass it. And he wrote his own philosophical treatise. He went to war. He was a primary school teacher for a while. He had one of the most richest and wealthiest family. I think his dad was a steel magnate. He had both of his brothers commit suicide. One was essentially a prodigy in music, like a violinist. Ludwig was a quintessential philosopher, the greatest philosopher of the 20th century for how smart he actually was, recognized as such. And so that's who he wrote the book about. And so that was the second one. Again, didn't know any of this until along the readings you go, who are these smart people that you've come across when these people say these names like it should be common knowledge? Apparently Ludwig Wittgenstein is one of them. You should so he's one of them. And then the third book that he wrote was his tutor who inspired Wittgenstein, who was held up as the greatest philosopher until Wittgenstein came along and ruined everything, or perceived to ruin everything that this man wrote.
And to you, that's the... Oh, no, to...
The author?
The author.
Ray Monk.
Those are the three most
These are the
influential
three
people
most essentially the quintessential geniuses of the
20th century.
20th century philosophy. And Oppenheimer was a physicist.
You get like deep into it.
Yeah, I love some shit, man. I went as far as possible, as quickly as possible, because I was like,
I love some shit, man.
I wanted to go.
You get into some like real niche fucking things, bro.
I do.
You got that tism in you.
I got the jiu-jitsu tism, mate.
No, 100%, bro. I know. That's why you golded.
Yeah. Huh?
That's why you golded, because you got that jiu-jitsu flavour.
I got that jiu-jitsu flavour.
How old are you?
35. Yeah.
35.
Yeah, I've been at this. Listen, between podcasts and getting into this, mate, I've been into this for 11 years, maybe more. 12, 13.
Are you gonna get on that sweet juice?
Which? No.
You're not going to get on that sweet juice.
When I'm 40 plus, maybe I'll think about the sweet juice.
Have you got
the secret juice as Borrachino?
Have you got your levels tested?
No. No, I haven't. I need to do it. I need to do blood panels. Yeah.
You might need it now.
I need some tests.
Do you want those injuries to heal?
Nah, yeah. Do you want your back to heal up? To start taking fucking steroids, it'll fix me right up.
Do it, because then you're an elite athlete. Craig Jones said.
Stop it.
Craig Jones said it. Craig Jones said it first.
Then I got to pay for it. And I'm an everyday man. I got to work to go out and pay for my anabolic steroids. So I can be actually, to prevent injuries, it would be great.
That video made me laugh so much.
Dude, his videos recently have been... the B-team content is great.
Bro, you need the mixture, the perfect mixture. We are yet to replicate this. He's so funny. Craig Jones, for anyone who doesn't know, if you go on his Instagram, he's so funny. Jiu-jitsu Brazilians must fucking hate Craig.
They would hate him. They would hate him. He's much like what they hated Eddie Bravo because he come out and spoke to what the ideology was of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, what it means for what they perceive to be the way to train, and then Craig's just a piss take. He's essentially a court jester, right? But he's like a court jester who's one of the best in the world at Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He doesn't do it by the style that they do it by.
Did you listen to Joe's last podcast with Eddie? When was that? Was that with like...
It was after the companion, because we spoke about this last time. I don't think I listened to it.
Because I haven't even fucking heard that cunt's voice in years.
Eddie Bravo. Yeah. Well, I watch the combat jiu-jitsu on Fight Pass, so I see him and hear him.
Oh yeah, because he commentate.
He's the ref, and he does all the pre-show. He's essentially Dana White. He's the pump up for all combat jiu-jitsu.
Has he gone crazy? Oh, he's always been crazy. No,
it's just because he does stand-up comedy and he does tinfoil hat. He does a bunch of conspiracy shit.
Yeah,
he's big known for it.
It got to the point with Eddie where I was like, when I'd see his episodes, because I used to get really excited.
Everything will go to the conspiratorial.
But now it's like, but then it got to like, oh, I can't be fucked.
Yeah, everything. He'll just believe everything. It's just going to be counter to the narrative.
It's going to be an hour and a half of Joe trying not to tell Eddie to shut the fuck up.
Talk him down. Now, I just want to bring it back because I didn't mention the third. If we're going to put it in the comments,
go.
The third guy, his name was Bertrand Russell.
Bertrand Russell. He wrote a book with Alfred North Whitehead called the Principia Mathematica, which is also the name of what Isaac Newton wrote when he essentially come up with the theory of gravity. Was called the Principia Mathematica. So this was number 2 version written by these two quintessential genius philosophers, expert mathematicians, coming up with logic and mathematical equations can explain all logical deductive reasoning, which means we can understand any argument that can be led in by having a conversation. I've sat across from one of like an outlier in the AI engineering community.
Yeah, I heard that one. It was good.
And you still make me feel more dumb than any of my guests.
I try not to get on these rants because it's like if I have to press it for what
I honestly just went cross-eyed. I'm not joking.
This is why people call me out. My brother can't stand a lick when I go like this. He goes, shut up from the start.
I like it.
He can't stand it.
But like,
it just goes, I go deep with some stuff. I wanted to know why.
You got that fucking tism, bro. But it's a good one.
Well, I got the tism. My tism weird on that is to understand some weird ways. I got intimidated by intelligence. So then you try and understand what intelligence is, and then you understand. Can you gain intelligence? No. Well, you genetically
you can definitely work it.
You can work on
like a muscle.
But you say when you get into intelligence research, it gets dicey because then they're like racially. Oh boy, touchy subjects. Different races have different intelligence levels. No, can't have that. It's not biology. Say whatever you say it is, but there is. To speak more clearly, people have verbal, and then is there different kinds of intelligence? Is there verbal intelligence, physical intelligence, spatial intelligence, temporal intelligence? No, not really. But it was somewhere along the way you learn habit formation, good habits, reading. Do you comprehend reading?
Yeah.
Concepts of metacognition, which is thinking about your own thinking, which coming to intuition, it's like if it's all false, but can you then read something, think about what you read, tie it in with memories and things that you've already taken on board, and then you accumulate that over time. And that's actually what makes our brains unique and special, is the accumulation of data over the extended periods of our lifetime lead to memories that we've existed for this period of time and that it was deemed important by us because we knew we were here and that we did it. It's essentially what memory habit is, right? So,
did you get that?
Did you guys get that?
Did you? Did you follow along?
Did you follow along for those playing at home? So somewhere that's where this all-encompassing thought of intelligence went to memory, went to brain science, neuroscience. Okay, well, what's that? We communicate our grand ideas in language. Okay, so what the fuck's language? We learn how to communicate by making sounds with our mouths. All right, cool. Why did we do that? We needed to survive better. Okay, but why? Then people abuse that. So the terms Machiavellianism and all that other fun stuff come about, and then I learned the history of it, and it's all about Niccolo Machiavelli, and he's writing for princes to learn how they can hold power more effectively, and then you learn that postmodernism, power, everything's just a power game. We can use language as a power game, and you're like, all right, so that's the thing now. But no, we can't just have postmodern, because that's just trying to destructuralize the world and break everything down. So how can we get to the actual what is true, what is right, what is real? Somewhere along the way, I still trying to figure out by all these things what is right, what is real, what is truth, what's reality to you, but then in the grand context
I was going to say, like, that's such a, like, to you,
it's a life project for me, mate.
But it's crazy that every single person you ever lay your eyes on is living a totally different reality to you.
It's great.
But
it's a hell of a thought.
It can be depressing as well, because you can see some people, like, especially where
throwing it away.
No, they're just fucking. They're just fucked.
They're not trying to grasp any of that.
They're
just existing.
Like, what shit cards did you get dealt?
What's just that, man? It's just
because
that.
at the end of the day, that's what it is.
There's a lot of components that play in.
You can grow up being Kim Kardashian's daughter.
Yeah,
you've got the ticket.
Back in the day,
that doesn't mean that she'll be any happier than someone else.
Well, because
other problems come with everything.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's just weird, like, watching people. It's like, fuck you. You have a totally different view on reality.
That's right. So you can get that cross spectrum with humans, and then think about then non-human things and how we think about them, and then you look at artificial intelligence and how we would then view that and how we want to treat that. And then you look at all these other things, and again, it's...
Do you know when you see how people really are? Do you know how you see?
Mm.
You serve them in a hospitality environment.
Oh, man, yeah.
That's when you see
people
what people are really
would
like.
actually treat people like.
Because
I've heard of business deals and all this stuff being treated about how they treat their server, how you communicate with the people around. Because if there's some shady shit...
Especially, and if you're with, say you go on a date to a restaurant with a girl that you're just meeting for the first time.
What about if it's a guy? Can I go on a date with a guy?
You can do that.
All right, cool.
You can do that.
That's all right. Just asking.
You can do that.
Cool.
Just you have to sit in the back.
I'll hold his hand.
I'm joking.
Of course we're joking. Sorry, people don't realise that we're
But if you come in and you're posturing and you're peacocking and you're showing your feathers and you're being a cunt, you're a dickhead. Like, do you know what I mean? And that sounds like, oh, people come into the shop and they'll spend $8 on chips and they think that they can talk to you in a certain manner.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, no. That's not how it works here.
Right. Yeah.
Like, you can fuck off.
Right. That ties all the way back to intuition, personal responsibility, and individuality, how you think in your own head and how you perceive that you're moving through the world, but then how you want to treat other people, because what is an idea that has lived around as long as language has been around that we hold up as the golden rule, and it's across all religions.
Yeah.
You can talk about it there's different ways to phrase it, but essentially do unto others as you'd want done unto you.
Yeah, but
treat
also,
others as you'd like to be treated.
Also, a lot of people still get their information off of Channel 7.
Morning sunrise, Closhy, no longer there.
A lot of people still think radio people are celebrities.
Oh, yeah. Hey, man, Rue Dits and Loz, Triple M Adelaide, big. Come on, tradies.
You're a tradie.
I know, man. I have to listen, yeah.
But
site radios
the only
everywhere.
time anyone listens to the radio is if you don't have an AUX.
If you don't have it, or because you can't, because jobs, when you were saying with COVID, well, I could do my old job. I wasn't supposed to. I had it. People would come around and tell me off.
Away.
Well, because I'd put it in my ear. I'd be up in a scissor lift. And so I'd be up.
That's dangerous.
Well, I'd be up in a scissor lift. No one's up there. It's actually the least dangerous.
Yeah, you're only going to hurt yourself.
Because I'm not moving at all, so you don't extend it. Once you're up there, you got to come down to drive. That's a safety thing about driving EWPs, mate, elevated work platforms.
The Utes.
The Utes is over here. You don't want to get your boom knuckles up here. I can go up 11 meters. Bzz, bzz. But doing that, so you'd put it on, be working on insulation on pipes, and no one would see me. I was like, this is the best place to do it. Where you don't want is the job I do now, roofing on residential sites where there actually is other people working around you, and I'm potentially throwing metal off roofs and throwing things. You got to be able to hear and communicate with people that are going around.
How's that massive company gone bust?
Which one? Out in the north?
Is it the North Star something? Star the.
No, mate.
It was all over the news.
As a man that works in the industry, there's a lot of
these people
comings and goings when it comes to people that can promise you the world.
These people were a major
stuff.
company. Yeah. They had like 100 houses in development.
Yeah.
Halfway through.
Yeah.
But it's been over 4 years.
Yeah.
So they're still framed out, and it's been raining, and they're all fucked.
Yeah.
And now these people have to go through insurance.
Different. Yep. I've heard all those stories.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah. It was Star something, but why? I guess it's a horrible time to construct anything. Timber at the moment, I didn't realize how steel, expensive it was.
Yeah, timber and steel.
Timber's so why? It's wood. Bro,
I feel like it's a lot more complicated than it's just wood.
Chips at the shop, the potatoes, like eggs. We're running out of everything.
Seems to be, mate.
We are running out of fucking everything.
We need the aliens to come down and help us. We need those UAPs.
That's why they're fucking here. That's why I'm smoking like a maniac. We're all going to die.
It doesn't matter. You think, are they going to... Here's the question, though. Are they going to come... Are they going to be good or bad? What's your thought or hope?
If they wanted to be bad, they would have been bad already.
See, so my philosophical idea is, what was their evolution that they would... Because if you looked at the way we treat other animals
aliens are
on the Earth...
Aliens are literally the same thing as us, but 2 million years ahead.
So what would we be 2 million years ahead? Because you realize 2 million years before we were now, we were barely walking upright.
That's me giving out a very broad statement.
I know.
And I don't know what I'm talking about. Like, I have no evidence. Do you?
No one does. Even David Gruber can't give out the evidence because it's all it's all classified shit where he's like, if I say it, I'm incriminating myself.
But he said he would do it. He said he would do it behind closed doors.
Apparently he's done it behind closed doors.
Then they do some prison break shit and they close the door, and then there's just like fucking...
Apparently, I've heard of too many things with the American government where they just off people. Argentinian government before that, they disappeared people.
They just off people. They just off entire villages.
God, wow.
They don't give a fuck.
All throughout, mate. When everyone was coming to conquer, now we have all these... what do they say? What was the internationalist idea after the First and Second World War, where they signed the Treaty of Versailles and all these different treaties and what it's actually recognized as a war crime? Why did they have the Nuremberg trials after World War II? Because the crimes of the Nazis were deemed inhumane. So you weren't human by acting out these crimes to other humans.
I also watched a little snippet of a reel of this. Really, it was in black and grey. It was very poor quality film. It was very old, the video. It was about this soldier admitting his war crimes. And he would say, he's like, back in the day when it was World War, we'd go out with 5 of our crew, and you'd come back by yourself because 4 had died and you would have only killed 4 of them.
Yeah.
But by the time that reaches the media, that 4 has turned into 70.
Yeah.
And so he was getting trialed for fucking murders
that he
never even did.
Never did.
That just got written up because they wanted to scare the opposition.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah.
That's a dark thought.
Yeah.
Well, there was a lot with that. The term out of that, did you ever hear the term, the banality of evil? No. You know, when something's banal?
Banal. Yeah.
Yeah, just boring. It's just like, But so the thought
bland.
of bland. The banality of evil. Things were so evil, but it had gotten so bad and corrupt in your society that every step along the way, it was deemed more and more acceptable for the torture and the persecution that was put on something that was other than you, perceived by your eyes.
I'm not advocating for the cruelness that went on at any time, any war.
In my asking of that, I was not insinuating any of that, but I was coming up with the concept because Hannah Arendt wrote it because of these Nuremberg trials and the trials that they put on board. She come up with that concept.
What I'm saying is, like, in times of... It was that crazy back then. You had to do fucking anything to win.
Crazy stuff, yeah.
You had to do anything to win.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about any specific war or anything.
No.
But
what you did in wartime.
Pre-1950s.
Yeah.
No one knew shit about anything.
But that's what we have now. That's where we think What are they? There's the progress. What is it? The progress of morality is arched towards good. Like over the long step of history, is the bent of morality going towards good? Because we constantly like to think that we're updating, and as a species, we can update, right? We like to think we can learn from history and update our hominid programming, that we can overcome all the fallacies and the biases and all the delusions we have in our head to actually become a better version of ourselves. That's actually what we think we can do. And then we implement treaties to do that. And when it comes to those things like war crimes and all that stuff.
See, I didn't understand war crimes fully because I was in my head, I'm like, in the act of war, anything goes. If it's a true war. If it's a true...
Have you ever read any accounts of them? Have you actually ever read it?
Yes.
Read accounts
so
of it?
I understand what a war crime is, but I just didn't understand why it was there.
Yeah.
And then I was talking to... Did you watch the podcast I did with that Sun McKay?
No, that's the one.
My best podcast.
That
today.
was the one we were talking about where it got delayed because as soon as I saw it come out,
was it that one?
Was that one.
Yeah,
I was so keen to listen to it.
That was my best podcast,
and it's out now. I found it on the Spotify's. And
well,
so
I was asking
go back and
him, and because he's like, he obviously knows a lot about him. Mm-hmm. He's like, you can't just go fucking treating people like animals.
Yeah.
And I was asking him about it, like, because he was a private contractor. Mm-hmm. He's like, I don't have war crimes. I'm a private contractor. I'm a subby.
Yep.
I don't have a union.
Yeah. It's different. And that's what makes
crazy.
That. And that's a different thing in itself. Like private contracts in modern war and what's deemed, because we don't put boots on the ground. That's not the wars they want to fight. Well, they want to fight dirty wars now where it's all behind the scenes and undercover. And they don't know the numbers that are actually sent out to different countries.
Did Oppenheimer get done for war crimes?
No. No, because he was the guy running the project.
All of them should.
Before you even see the movie, though, his whole thing. So he's a quintessential genius. It's not. It's not spoiling the movie because I haven't actually seen the movie actually read the whole book.
History.
But it's
you can't spoil history.
But it's essentially he got done.
Oh wait,
he got all these.
They found fire.
No.
You can't spoil history.
So he was essentially on the leading cutting edge of physics research in quantum mechanics, and so in the building of the bomb,
he knew what he was.
He knew, mate.
He knew what he. But I haven't seen the movie. I haven't read. But he would have known deeply what the repercussions of it was.
So this is what made it special. When I said this Raymond guy wrote these books, this is why it's curious. The mindset of a genius and what he did. This was a true genius who was not just literate and the best in his field at physics.
He was a legitimate genius.
He spoke 3 or 4 different languages.
He was an outlier.
He taught himself Sanskrit so he could read the Bhagavad Gita, and then once he dropped and saw the influence and the damage that the first atomic bomb did, he quoted the Bhagavad Gita, which is what Rogan has spoken about and have watched it, where he quotes the thing saying, "I am death, the destroyer of worlds. I have become death, the destroyer of worlds."
What is that quote? You know the quote: "Be uncommon amongst uncommon people. Be
but to be uncommon amongst uncommon men."
Yeah, it doesn't
to be the outlier amongst outliers.
It doesn't just go for
physical competition. It goes for mental competition.
There are mental. It goes for people.
That's why I like
a Lex Friedman. He's a perfect example.
Lex Friedman, where he's
a sponge. He's curious, but he's a sponge.
Yeah. And that's
like you're in the grand scheme of things, you're not like the smartest fucking man in the world at all. But you have a very good ability to absorb knowledge and reiterate it.
I want to try and comprehend what the hell people are talking about.
See, I'm horrible. I'm horrible at reiterating things.
Yeah,
because I always put my own twang on it. And
you're not the only one that said I start talking about it, and that's why it's just I wanted to think if you can think It's the Einstein quote. If you think you understand something, can you explain it to a 6-year-old?
Yeah. That's perfect.
Right. And so if you think you can you explain these things to someone that doesn't have the terminology? Again, language games. If you don't have the terminology, they don't understand that word, all these fancy compartmentalized words that are used in these very arcane.
It's like different arts.
Different thing.
Jiu-jitsu and wrestling.
All the terms used for jiu-jitsu positions, same thing in physics. They have words for fucking all the different electrons, neutrons, protons, mesons, bosons, quarks.
But so you were saying he was Oppenheimer claimed himself as the destroyer or the...
Yeah, he says, "I have become death, the destroyer of worlds." Because he realized the power that he released by the atomic bomb. He could actually incinerate a city with
I don't
one
know
bomb.
what technology has come from that discovery?
The hydrogen bomb.
The hydrogen. No, anything that's more terrifying. So, what is there anything like good? Like Hitler had meth.
No. Atomic energy is the best. It's like the power.
I didn't say meth was good. Like I was saying,
we found that Hitler was crazy because
Hitler was
smoked
crazy,
meth.
but he like invented meth. He invented this. He invented.
He gave his soldiers stimulants. He gave his soldiers meth.
Popularized. He wouldn't have come up with it himself, but the Nazi scientists.
I gotta pull that. I gotta piss.
You gotta piss.
Pregnant, yeah.
We'll come back to that.
Come back to that.
We are back. We just took the longest piss you ever hear about.
There was a few. I don't know how the camera pans, but there's a few frothy cans off to the side because it is a Friday evening. So, conversations.
But we were saying, I said, did Oppenheimer actually from the creation of Hiroshima, the bomb, the nuke?
Yeah.
Did any other technologies come from that? That's what I was getting to. Like, did anything good come of that knowledge that we can do that, or was it just that we can kill a lot of people with a little effort?
There's definitely more because it's the understanding. What does our world run on? Petroleum, right? But what is petroleum? It's a way to create energy.
So it could inevitably end up as power solution.
We have nuclear reactors, right?
Yeah, but
what do you think that's run on? The same thing that runs a nuclear bomb for the explosion is the same cause that they have for a nuclear reaction to create energy that actually powers
a lot of people.
civilization.
A lot of people lobby for nuclear power plants in Australia.
Yeah, you know why people are against it? Because what's the offshoot of
nuclear waste?
Nuclear waste. How do we store it? How do we get rid of it?
Up there.
You want to just shoot it up into space?
Yeah,
Isn't there enough space junk up there? Because it stays up in. We can't shoot it far enough into outer space. It just stays up in the gravitational pull of the Earth.
Put it further.
I don't know. Yeah, but at the moment they bury it, and the best thing to do is like
where do they bury it?
In deserts, in deserted places. But it's got a half-life of like 20,000 years. So people don't know not to dig it up, especially if you're talking over a 20,000 year period. Are people going to be able to read a sign that says danger, radioactive waste, don't dig here?
Do you reckon we'll still be here in like 500 years?
I know. If you put time frames on it, because anything can happen, man. In exponential growth of technologies.
What about 20?
We'll be here in 20.
You reckon?
Yeah, we'll be.
I reckon some shit's gonna happen.
Well, mate, when you get to 20, you get to the 2045, which is the singularity that Kurzweil calls for.
Can you see like everyone's
on edge?
Everyone's getting sick of each other. Do you know what I mean?
What do you mean? You just travelled to Japan, culturally speaking?
No, not me.
All people get along with everyone.
Everyone's kind of getting sick of each other. Hollywood's not as cool as it used to be.
Well, they're on strike.
Hollywood's not.
Everyone's pulled a pin.
But Hollywood's just not as cool. Well, it used
to be cool to be a celebrity, like an A-list celebrity.
It's not anymore.
No, now we live in the world of influencers.
I've said this fucking 5 times on this podcast. Aiden Ross, he's a streamer.
Mm-hmm.
He started on Twitch. Got a contract making more than LeBron James this year. He's for streaming. Like celebrities don't matter as much.
It's just a new form of celebrity with a new...
We're running out of minerals and fucking materials. We're running out of oil. We're running out of eggs. There's no eggs.
Running out of eggs. As a chef, as a man that looks, he's like, eggs are expensive.
No, but
as a man in
eggs.
The building trade, we've had issues with bringing in timber. We've had issues with bringing in steel.
No steel.
Yep.
There's fucking... half the Amazon's getting burnt down every day to put fucking plantains there.
Yep.
Like it's crazy.
Yep, but yet somehow we adapt and we figure it out. And
Trump's going to be president in 2024.
God, he might do.
He
might do.
You don't think he's going to be president?
Well, who else?
He's going to go, and I don't even think it's legal. Like I thought, once you were done, you were done. You can re-elect. I've never heard of that. Has that ever happened?
Where they've had usually they stay for the certain term and then they don't go back in. They get the 2 terms.
Did he do his 8 years?
No.
He didn't? He did 4 and then he got impeached or whatever.
Yeah, no, he didn't even get impeached. He just got...
did he get voted?
Biden won out on the next one because that was the whole rigged election fraud.
I would love to be in America during election time.
It's going to be nuts.
As an Australian.
They're calling out, man. You watch enough UFCs and they can tell that they love Trump. They still go to enough places. Salt Lake City, they were loving Trump, so...
if it came down to both of them, I'm fucking voting Trump 10 times out of 10. If they were the only two options, if they were the only two options,
why are you trying to put an 86-year-old dude in the presidency where he's
doesn't know where he is?
His mental faculties of
Yeah.
severe. But here comes the other issues. There's not enough. How entrenched is this? You know, the establishment essentially, where there's no one new half his age that's inspiring enough to
What's
rouse.
the age? Is it 45 or 50
What?
to be a president?
I think you got to be over
50.
Well, because I think mid 40s is like a young age.
Do you know what they
president.
should put in there? We're saying this as if being the president matters.
Like it did anything. Yeah.
No, but like they're just a spokesman.
Yeah.
That's all they are.
Yeah.
They're a charismatic spokesman.
Yeah.
The reason why people don't like Trump is because he's unhinged as fuck.
He just
and he says
he might just say some stuff. I'll fix this issue. I'll go solve this problem.
I'm gonna build a wall.
I'm a businessman.
I'm
I build buildings. I'll build walls.
But
build walls to keep out the ethnics.
That's why people like him, because he's unhinged.
Yeah, the old shooting from the hip.
But fucking at the end of the day, they're all spokesmen.
Yeah.
The military has more power in America than the president.
Yeah, because what they call it, Rogan said the popularity contest, right? It's the
That's
popularity
all it is.
contest for the alpha chimp, and all the other decisions are made way before. And I've listened to enough where it's like before they even get on a voting ballot. Do you know how many it has to be sequestered? How many things it goes through before they even get to a vote of to the public for a democracy in a republic? Because see, we the people, for the people, by the people. Bullshit. That thing is all bought and paid for before they even get a sniff to send that out to the public. That's the conspiracy that does live on and will live on.
I am so out of touch with politics because I don't watch the news that
Why would you want to be involved in
I would have to think really hard if you ask me who the Prime Minister of Australia is.
You don't know?
I know only because of one thing. Ain't easy. It
ain't easy being Albanese?
Yeah. Oh, so what is it? Is that it?
Yeah, Anthony Albanese.
Anthony Albanese.
He is the Prime Minister in 2023.
Whenever I go to vote, I don't even know if I've ever told him this. Whenever I go to vote, I always vote for my friend Kieran Bridge.
He's in politics?
No, he's an alcoholic.
Okay.
He's one of my good mates.
What do you mean? You just write it?
So
it's a donkey vote?
He's a sesh gremlin. And he got to one year where he got like 12 votes or something. I'm not joking.
But they're all donkey votes. If you just write a random name, mate, it's a donkey vote. It doesn't count.
But does it matter? Doesn't matter.
In a democracy, it does matter, mate. Your vote is still supposed to matter.
Doesn't matter, though.
The true belief
They're
in
all going to
democracy.
do the same thing.
Look, as a man, I believe in that.
matter.
But you go, if you realise the reductio ad absurdum, the point of absurdity of that would be you reduce something to the point of absurdity. You don't have a voice. You go nihilistic. You go, none of it matters. I'm not going to do anything. And the world goes.
But if your happiness lies on which government gets in.
I know. Yeah, that's true.
You are living.
You see those crazies that lose their marbles, and you're like, oh, this is going to change the world.
We live in Australia. We're not in fucking Ghana.
Yeah, I know.
Or like, we're not in a crazy place where we're not in a third world country.
Yeah.
The government here. There was one year I was overseas. By the time I came back to Australia, we had like fucking 4 prime ministers. Do you remember that?
Well, the circle of trade between
Do you remember
Julia Gillard, Kevin Rudd, Tony Abbott.
It was in quick succession.
Yeah, those.
And I was like,
because one got ousted, and then they went in, and then they voted in, and then they ousted him, and it was a bunch of oustings all of a sudden. It was like, this never happened.
And guess what? No one died.
Yeah, no, yeah.
If that happens in an African country, it's because a militant group has fucking murdered
a military coup. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Well, that's how it used to get done. Yeah. Now they talk them out.
In a lot of places, it still gets done like that.
Yeah. Well, that's what we say. The moral arc of truth, hopefully tilting towards good, is that we don't have to assassinate off people because they speak for their rights and get voted in by the people, and then they get assassinated by the people in power.
But all these people complaining about if you worry about, here's a thought, if you worry about who gets in government in Australia, because it doesn't matter,
and the effect it will have on your life on a grand
if
total.
you worry about that, imagine yourself in a country in the Middle East that's under Sharia law by force.
Oh, yeah.
Like those extremists
Anywhere
groups.
like that. You could always think, we live here. You
Or
could be
like,
in Afghanistan.
you
You could be in
there.
the Congo.
You could and
You could be in any of those
those
places.
people just want to know what the fuck they're gonna eat tomorrow.
Yeah, that's true. Well, that's
And you give a fuck if Kevin Rudd or Julia Gillard gets in?
Yeah. Yeah.
What reality do you live in?
I know. Yeah, it's true.
Well, you're going to pay more tax. Fucking this Albanese's been in and I'm paying triple my fucking mortgage.
Yeah, but then again, we had COVID,
It's
mate.
not easy.
They took out stimulus
But it's
packages.
not easy under Albanese.
It's not easy
So
under Albanese.
let's fucking...
You need a good fucking slogan, mate. You want to sell yourself out there, you need some good rhetoric, you need a good slogan, and you better have a voice that people want to listen to.
We need... What's that cunt? Bob Hawke. Bring him back. He'll just get rid of fucking...
Didn't he die?
Did he?
He's
95.
Bob Hawke?
He's not 90.
The man, he was the one that was sculling the beers at the cricket?
That's the only reason I know him.
I know. I think... Yeah,
I grew,
man,
up,
I think
I
he
grew up
died.
in a Greek household. Do you think I know anything about Australian politics?
Wow, that's kind of true. Do you know anything before, like, the ones that are in your lifetime?
Fuck no.
Nah.
I
Yeah,
did,
see,
but Julia Gillard used to be a customer at one of my dad's fish and chip shops in Pasadena.
Boom.
Yeah.
Julia Gillard made her way down to South Australia.
The only
Went to
reason
go
I
see your
vote
dad.
is because my mum thought that I would go to prison if I didn't enroll.
Yeah.
That's the only reason.
I know plenty of people that decide not to vote and they think the voting is stupid. But
I know
then it's
more.
the thought of what you just said about being in a non-democratic society
But
where
I know-
you don't have
yeah.
a vote and you realise that things can just get
Then
taken
it's a
from you.
dictatorship.
It's a dictatorship.
But
Or an autocracy.
in America, they're picking who's winning.
Yeah, before it even gets there. Yeah.
So like, I know more about American politics than I do Australian.
Yeah,
so do you.
know.
I guarantee you
I
do.
would. Yeah. Yep, I do. Because I always looked at, well, if we're a Western democracy.
Because it's funner. It's a show.
That's true. It's
Everyone's
also-
best mates with the Pope,
yeah.
and except Trump.
Wow. Well, because you realise Western civilizations are based in Christianity and Catholicism,
And then
so of
you
course
got-
the Pope's still intricately intertwined.
You got the president who just he's in a position of extreme power, and he rambles.
Oh yeah.
He rambles.
Yeah, he doesn't even know
It
what he's rambling
It doesn't matter that forget about the Alzheimer's and the brain tumors and
Right.
whatever's going on.
The brain fog.
Forget about all that. If you're on that main stage, you shouldn't be umming and ahhing.
You'd like to think, but when you're that old and you're just losing your way, mate.
Yeah,
Like, why is he there to begin with? Like, seriously, he's a statesman that kind of...
Why don't they just give it to like 12 smart people?
We wish it could work that way,
Like
mate.
the 7 dwarfs.
They can't just change
But
it
no,
up and they got
but
the
like,
7 dwarves.
Instead of the 7 dwarfs, it's the 7 academics, and they're like smarty, in empathy,
Brain-wise.
brain-wise.
You realise they've had those over time. There's
Sympathetic.
There's been the crew. I'm pretty sure there's in like
It's
Roman
like the
history.
Avengers.
There has been the class of 8, and they were the people that actually made the decisions about where a country was actually going to go. That has been tried out.
And do you know what? Civilization back then was probably a lot more in tune and in function than now. Do you
The
know
issue
what?
is it's way more complex now. There's way more things out of people's control.
Do you know what the coolest thing about Japan was?
What's that?
They know exactly where they come from.
Right.
They are so in tune with their culture in Japan.
Well, they're still tight-knit culture.
They are not ashamed of their culture.
Yeah.
They embrace their culture. They just, everything to them is tradition. We walked into a izakaya, which is those 6-seater pubs that I was talking about. Mm-hmm. And that place was like 500 years old in the same family.
Yeah.
And that's normal over there because they're just so in tune with the culture and they're just lovely.
That's what's harder about the Western civilization. We're much more new, which means we don't have the history, which means we don't have tradition.
We're
But why
fucking animals.
Well, we're revolutionaries, mate. You
Yeah,
see?
but
We want to revolt. We're the ones that got either sent away or we chose to go away.
It works both ways because you go to Japan, they are fucking 250 years ahead of us. I'll tell you that.
Well, their electronic technology could be so far superior.
Mate, I went on a train. Everything there is, they could be as quiet as Adelaide, but there's a 65 times the amount of people in a fucking block than there is in Adelaide.
Yeah.
And it's more organised because everyone's respectful.
Yeah.
And the trains, if a train says it's coming at 10 57.
Don't be there at 10:55 because that thing's the wrong train.
If you get on the train at 10:56:30,
it's the wrong one.
It's the wrong fucking train, and we found out the hard way.
Yeah,
you gotta wait because I had the reins of because the misso did all of the planning.
Yeah.
And I was just a passenger princess for a lot of the trip. And one day she cracked the shit. She's like, you're going to fucking figure out how we're going to get here, here, and there. Oh. You walk into this train station, it's 10 times the size of Adelaide Airport.
Yeah.
There's a million trains, and I'm like, all right, we're going here. And I was like, all right, it's this train, 30 seconds fucking early. Get on the train. And like 45 minutes passes. She's like, you know this is the wrong train. And I was like, what do you mean? She's like, I know this is the wrong train. I just got on it.
I just got on it because I was following you. I wanted to trust you with this one, Sav, and you completely threw me the lurch.
That was the one day, and I was like, fuck. It's just...
See what you learn when you give me the power, woman.
Over there, though, it's just... It's like that, though. They're just so in tune with culture. And you know what? I'm very lucky in the fact that I grew up very Aussie because all my friends are Aussie. Mm. All my friends are Australian. I was born down south, but I come from a very strong Greek family.
Yeah.
Strong in heritage because my parents moved here when they were older.
So we have an ideal about how our grandparents live because, I have Italian background for that same thing.
But then I'd meet these Australians and I adopt their culture. But I'm lucky to have a very, I've seen other culture in my life before I travelled abroad.
Yeah.
Yeah, which gave me a little bit of a head start.
Yeah.
I wasn't as culture shocked. The first massive culture shock I had was Japan. Because it's just a different world.
Just totally different. Yeah.
They're just...
Yeah, I did...
So, bro, you can eat off of their streets. Yeah. Like, you could drop your food, leave it there. I had left my wallet and my phone in a KFC. And it had a lot of money in it. And my phone was just there. They'll chase you a kilometre down the street to give you your phone. A stranger. Like, it's crazy.
It's pretty good.
It's insane.
It's a nice thought, isn't it?
The amount of times I was drunk and left my phone at a bar and they just it didn't get stolen.
Man, got lucky in that spot then because in a lot of other places it wouldn't be that same way.
They wouldn't. They just
wouldn't be that same way.
They just wouldn't do it.
Well, it's an interesting thing about travelling, right?
Do you know why? A businessman, a salaryman was telling me we got hammered at a bar. And I was like, you don't hear much about Japanese religion. I'm going to butcher this, so don't take it word for word. Do your own research. But this is the gist of it. The sun, the moon, blah, 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 all different kind of spiritual entities. This is my words. And they believe the moon or something, everything's watching you. So the moon can see when you're littering. Or like that's like in layman's terms. Like the moon can... That's why they don't. They'll never... There will be... It'll be 4 a.m. It'll be a road there, a little side street. The light will be red for people to walk. If it's 4 a.m. and there's no cars and no one's around and there's one Japanese person there, they will not cross the road until that light turns green because they're scared of them getting watched.
Big brother in the sky.
Yeah. Well, but that's like their base religion. I'm not sure of the actual religion. I don't know much about their Buddhism's obviously a big one.
Buddhism
over there.
Shinto was the one. Shinto was the one that led to them following Mussolini, which actually led to them fighting everyone else because it was their belief in their tradition that
they got dicked.
Yeah, they got dicked pretty hard. Japan got fucked up pretty good.
But honestly, I would not see the world the same unless I went to Japan.
Right.
It's that good.
When you say, again, what we said, adding to experience, to experience of your interpretation on how you live and move through the world. If you never leave where you're born and you're born and raised, which was the dish of the day throughout
people that
humanity.
Don't live the South.
Yeah, but mate, not even in this day and age. This day and age, because it's never easier to move around, and most people are forced to move around.
Here it makes you crazy. Back in the day,
it was forced.
You
stayed there.
Normal.
It was too scary to move out of those walls because you had your family, you had your tribe, you had your group. If you went outside of that, mate, you were roadkill.
There's people that struggle, or like I remember there was these hippies that used to come into work, like they were real hippies. They weren't even hippies. What were they? They were just massive stoners.
Right.
And
just had that look.
No, they were. He had dreadlocks to his ass. They'd come in like onesies. They were stoned as fuck all the time. And I was like, one day I was like, oh, what did you do today? It was a really hot day. I was like, did you go down to the beach? And they were like, oh, yeah, because they always lived down at Christie's Beach. They lived on the beach. They had a great life. Like they
Bohemian,
were
mate.
And I was like, oh, you weren't down at Moana? Moana's busy. And he's like, never been, bro. And I was like, what are you talking about? I was like, where were you born? You were born like in Interstate. He's like, no, I was born in Christie's. And I was like, you've never been to Moana Beach?
Yeah.
And
people are going to be super
And he was
isolated.
like 20.
Yeah.
And I was like, you've never... And he's like, no, I've never had my license. I don't want to catch the bus there. He's like... I was like, what... It was like, do you go to Marion? He's like, nah.
Nah.
It never worked.
No.
I was like, what the fuck? And there's people like that.
There's people like that.
There's people... Bro, that's a 3-minute drive.
When you said spectrum before, right? You can have a super niche spectrum where you can get super interested in some things, but it's only this. Then you get people
who don't give a fuck.
They have no niche. They literally have their brain space, their world.
No one talks about the no niche. They're the ones that start
the ones
cults.
that not find anything.
But then the no niche gets like a talent, and then you turn into a serial killer.
Well, at least they might have one talent then.
Serial killers were pretty big during COVID.
Serial killers were in during COVID?
Yeah, I've always been on the serial killer train, as in I like watching the docos, but when Dharma came out, fuck, it exploded.
Oh, it was massive, yeah.
Did you watch it?
I didn't, know.
Really?
Yeah. But I mean, I heard it was good because he was in American Horror Story. I know the story of Jeffrey Dahmer.
If you know the story of Jeffrey,
yeah.
What's cool about it is it tells it in a way. It
makes you sympathetic towards Dahmer.
No. Even if you know the story through and through, it shows it in a way where it's still surprising to you.
Right.
Like, it's like, oh, what murder's this?
Right.
Like, but because it doesn't tell you, and then it tells you.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, even if you know the story, you're like, oh, which one was this?
Yeah.
Like, they filmed it. They filmed it very well, but it's still kind of fucked up.
Yeah.
That they made a lot of people sympathize with the serial killer.
Yeah, that's what I heard about it. It was like people, they were making it, trying to make it sympathetic towards Dahmer.
That's just fucking people being people.
People
flock towards. That's like, oh, Charles
Manson.
Charles Manson.
Yeah. He had wives.
People love him.
People come through. Yeah,
people love him. I love watching things.
Did I see that one of the members, the female of the family, when she was like 18, when she got put away, she just got released after 51 years?
No shit.
Some shit like that. So she's
Did
70.
She?
She's 70 something now and just got
Full
released.
of regret.
Mate, you'd have to be, right? You got brainwashed like that. He's dead. Yeah.
He died a long time ago.
Yep. Yeah. But
I used to love watching his lovers in. I used to like watch a lot of like serial killer. I used to go deep into him.
The mind of the depraved, mate.
Yeah,
the mind of the depraved.
And I used to watch his court things.
Right.
Where he'd just fucking go on a tangent, and he's like, "Oh, this bloke's a psychopath."
You can see how, because one of the ones that I watched of, and it's famous. Not a Meano. No, that was Richard Ramirez. This was, again, I've been on my own psycho bloody stalker to look at, because it is the depravity of man. The missus like watching murderers and things like that, whereas I like more the societal ones, like your Stalins, your Hitlers, your Maos, your Pol Pots. It was like, who could...
Have you seen True Real Dictators?
Yes.
Have you listened to them?
Yeah. Oh no, there was a Netflix bit about how to become a dictator. That's
no, Real Dictators on the podcast.
No, I think you were telling me about this.
Great series.
I need
great series. He goes deep.
Because there's a difference between the depravity that you can do to individuals, and I watch Criminal Minds because it's an individual behavioral analysis unit. I watched Mind Hunters and all that about how that got started, because the depravity of an individual and how an individual mind can be so corrupt that they can do heinous things to an individual. But where I get more curious is then how you can convince other people to do your bidding, which is where it gets into not the Manson and the family,
Ultra, brother,
but more that
MK Ultra, brother.
The tendrils get.
You want to get into conspiracies? That's not even a fucking conspiracy.
Nah.
That happened. And people don't know about it.
MK Ultra.
People don't fucking know about it. I fucking listened to the whole audio book as soon as Joe Rogan had on that motherfucker that wrote that book, Chaos. I listened to it and I was like, this shit actually fucking happened and no one talks about
Yeah,
it. Like, no one talks about it.
There was Wormtail on Netflix. It was a whole thing about the MK Ultra experiments. They dosed everyone in LSD. If people don't know.
Lamest terms.
Lamest? It's not lame.
Lame. Like, what do you call it? Like, dumb. You're dumbing it down.
Yeah.
Lamest?
Layman's.
Layman's. Ends.
Not lame as in layman's.
Ends. I did ESL. For anyone that's not from Adelaide, English is a second language. I did it because it was an easy A. I knew how to speak.
Beautiful.
But it's such a racist fucking thing. They see you are a wog in high school and they put you in ESL.
Oh, yeah.
What the fuck?
Oh, I can't even say layman. What are you talking about?
So back in the day, MK Ultra. So if you're familiar with Charlie Manson, so there was this thing called MK Ultra. Essentially, they would get prostitutes. They would lure in customers into this brothel. There was a double-sided glazed wall, and this isn't a conspiracy. This is documented. They would have a double.
Freedom of information has been released. It's all out.
They had a double glazed wall, so they could see in, but you couldn't see out. They would drug these customers. The prostitutes would drug these customers with LSD, and the government were watching them to see if they could use it to their benefit as a mind control device.
And as a truth serum. They thought it could be a hijack to be a truth serum.
And because this was in the 60s, 70s, so they didn't know what was happening because LSD and acid just went rampant.
Got found. You know who founded the LSD?
No,
it was... why am I blanking on his name now? He was the guy that he rode the bike and he didn't realize the LSD, and he took a giant dose when he synthesized it, and then was riding his bike home, and all of a sudden having a dose that's 10 times the quantity of what you'd think off a tab.
Imagine the first person that took LSD.
And it was synthesized because it's a natural thing. It's in ergot, which is moldy bloody grains essentially. But this guy just tripped.
Imagine being the first person, the day walker. That's crazy.
Yeah.
But
that's what they were using it for. They thought it could be used as a truth serum.
And they were working directly with fucking Charles Manson.
Yeah.
He
was involved. Yeah, they knew. Yeah, they knew. They were giving it to him.
They were working with him, and
it was Albert Hoffman.
And so Charlie kept going to jail for misdemeanors and massive cases.
They were letting him out,
and he kept getting out. Yeah. And they would give him a mass amount of LSD, which he used. Yeah. To fucking brainwash people.
Well, we said the man could sing as well. He had his guitar. He was he was running the hippie revolution.
He toured with the Beatles.
Don't you think it was curious around that time when they were demonizing the hippie revolution because that was the war on drugs, that was Nixon, that was coming out of Vietnam, that was the whole psychedelics are ruining our youth, and so because they couldn't make good soldiers if it's all peace and love,
where he's gonna make you kill your friends.
It's going to make you kill. And so all the propaganda that was used for the whole war on drugs, if you don't know the history on the war on drugs and how it got started, which is why when people say drugs are bad, it's like, what are you talking about with drugs? Because there's plenty of drugs that we take all happily and willingly,
Valium,
and no one wants to talk. Caffeine, good.
Sugar,
good. Paracetamol, good. Yeah, heroin, meth. Oxycodone.
See, there's another...
Bad. Psychedelics, bad.
There's not conspiracy. There's a thing at the moment. You know how America's getting overrun with fentanyl?
Yeah. Man, it's like the number one leading killer at the moment. Some weird shit between 18 and 40.
They're saying that the Chinese... I can't remember what happened to the Chinese. But the opium
it
was planted by another government to ruin the economic thing of China.
Yeah.
And this was
the opium dens
years ago.
That was what I think the Americans did to the Chinese and the opium dens, and opium wars.
So they're saying that they played the waiting game because fentanyl comes from China, and they're saying that they're flooding it in with the cartel.
Oh shit! Oh, they backtracked it.
Yeah, so they're like, we won't forget, which is such a China move.
You know what? That's because I know there was a book that won a bunch of prizes about them called the Opium Wars.
The Opium Wars. Yeah, that's what it is, and they're saying that China has played the waiting game. Because if you don't know, in America, they got a massive crisis at the moment because the cartel is cutting all of their drugs with fentanyl.
All their cocaine, especially with
and
fentanyl.
fentanyl will kill you. So that everyone's just dying.
Way smaller doses. It takes a fraction of
and you're
fentanyl
dead.
to actually get you real
And they're
bad.
saying, because it comes from China, they're saying that the Chinese are working with cartel.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah.
That's some deep state shit.
That's some deep state shit.
That's dark, man. Well, I tell you what, mate. Before we leave it on that, I want to go all the way back to a travel story because I'm going to give a shout out to the story. I told the story in Naples. I want to give my happy story on meeting travelers because I've had this in my head the whole podcast going along. Because I'll give them a shout out because this was a big, important one for me and my sister who I traveled with. When we went to Canada, we met a lovely Irish couple. Essentially, the first or second night we were there at our local pub. They befriended us. They took them in. Because of them, we met a giant Irish cohort. It got me work over when I was living in Toronto. I got invited to Thanksgivings, all the celebrations we were accepted in. We then got invited. They moved back to Donegal, their hometown in Ireland.
Donegal.
Yes, there's a song called The Hills of Donegal, and I got to see the Hills of Donegal. They invited us to their wedding. They got married, and they invited my sister and I and said, we'd love if you could come. And my sister was so keen. This was maybe a year after we got back. And they went, we'd love if you... And so we did. And that's why I travelled to Ireland.
What was their names? Can we...
That was Darren and Grania Ward.
Shout out.
Shout out to Darren and Grania Ward.
This podcast was for you, legends.
That was one of my greatest memories on actually traveling, and I lived there for 15 months, and it was close to a year that we were good friends, and they would come down and watch UFCs, and meeting people and traveling, and the importance I know they've had a kid now. I chat with Darren every now and then just to say howdy doody, and you know, every now send a voice because he go, yeah, fuck off, cunt. How you going? We call it a GFC. He goes GFC because it just means get fucked, cunt, because he knew that was the Aussie colloquial term. And so I would just say that was my happy travel experience on meeting people that were important on your travels, and the importance of travel, not to understand just cultures and yourself on a grander scale, but to the great people that you actually meet along the way, and how then that may change you and your perception of reality because of the people that you meet in these circumstances when you're in such a different environment, and the importance that leads in your life going forward. So you cherish those memories, that when you travel and you meet great and important people, make the most of it, make the most of where we live. Even if we talk a lot of shit on here, make the most of it, people. And we love each other. So, boom. Thank you very much, Sav.
Always a pleasure.
Love you, mate. Thank you very much.
Bye.